You're listening to the Northern Hunter Podcast, home of all things hunting, fishing, and outdoors in Alaska. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, James Payne, and I'm joined here with my co-host, Dalton Gray.
Hello, how you doing?
And Mariah Humphreys.
Hello.
And we are fortunate enough to be joined here with our featured guest, Brad Ivey, today. How you doing, man?
Doing well. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Yeah. So you're an airman, correct? You're here up here at Alaskan, is that right?
Yep, stationed in Alaskan. Been in 16 years now this month.
Man, oh man, you're almost there.
Only 4 more years. I keep telling myself.
Years, Right on. Well, we're happy to have you here, man, and happy to get to talk to you. So, but before we dive in too far, we have a couple of quick questions we're going to cover from listeners. We're not going to dedicate a whole episode to it, but one of them actually is going to be really awesome since you're here. So it's going to be James Keller wrote into the show, and we are, I believe, Mo, you read part of that in the last episode, and we attested to the fact we were going to use it as an intro segment here. He says, when I first saw the Stealthy Hunter pad and gun cover, I said to myself, there's no way I would use either one of them. 2 years later, my wife bought them for me as some kind of promo gift, and needless to say, I don't go out without them now.
Yeah.
So one, awesome.
Yeah.
We love that you love the product. We promote the product all the time.
Yeah.
It's a great product. We all have them, and love using that stuff. But the question he posed at the end is, what gear do you guys use now that you thought you would never use before? So,
oh boy, yeah.
So I'll go ahead.
It's a whole laundry list of things there.
Oh yeah, I was trying to dial it down into one, but the one I think I'm gonna say, honestly, is shooting sticks.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
You know, I didn't carry shooting sticks for the longest time. I kind of always just, used a rock, whatever, my backpack a lot.
Right,
I go prone on using my pack for support.
Sit on your rear end and shoot off your knees.
Yeah. And, and I practice shooting in all those positions throughout the year consistently.
As you should.
And, there's like 5 primary positions you should practice shooting in as a hunter, and we'll not dive into that now, but there's, the thing I found myself is there's a lot of situations you end up in where, especially when a field, you just don't have the correct positioning. The rock's just a little too low.
Yeah.
There was one time I was shooting off of a rest that I had found, and I literally I couldn't sit on my knees or lean down on my knees because it was too high. If I sat on my butt, it was too low. Yeah. And so I literally had to tuck my ankle under my butt and sit on my ankle just to get to that perfect height so I could be lined up and get that nice solid shot. And so after that, I really started looking into shooting sticks. And there's a lot of compact models out there. You don't have to get the whole big, long shooting stick version. The one I have, I want to say it only sits up about 4 feet. Yeah. It's basically 2 tent poles with a grommet on the top.
Aluminum,
Yep. And so they fold down real nice. I mean, I think they're only a foot long when they're folded. Yep. They weigh a half an ounce.
Those are made by Primos, and I think those are called the cat sticks.
Yep, they are. Yeah. Yep. I got them down at the Sportsman's Warehouse, and honestly, they've provided a shooting platform where there might not have otherwise been one, and they've been really great. Like I said, they're super light. They just go right in the side of your pack, and I would say for me, that's my answer to that question.
Mariah, what do you think?
This sounds kind of crazy, probably, but I mean, like I said in the last episode, or where we talked about this, was the Stealthy Hunter rifle cover and shooting pad.
To them.
I felt the exact same way. I saw them and thought, it doesn't look practical. And now that I've used it, I don't leave the house without it when I've got my rifle with me.
Yeah.
But for me, honestly, a crazy thing is actually a bino harness.
Oh yeah.
I used to just run the ones where it was a similar style to a bino harness. It was a 4-point attachment. It would still hang on your chest.
Mm-hmm. The old suspender style.
Right. Yeah. And with a light, small pair of binos, it's okay depending on what you're doing, especially if you're not doing a lot of hiking and glassing.
Are you talking about like the ones that like Leupold comes with them? Like when you buy the Leupold binos,
it was something like that.
Little,
I mean, I had a really nice. At the time, it was a really nice Bushnell.
Didn't Butler
strap.
Creek make those for a long time? Those
old
camo suspender ones.
Yep.
That's what I used growing up.
Yep.
And I used this for a long time, and I saw bino harnesses, and I thought it was just a stupid gimmick. That's what I thought, and then I finally, I got tired. I bought a heavy pair of range-finding binos, and those things are hanging down at my waist every day. Every hour,
the elastic.
Every hour, I'm just cinching the stupid straps back up, and at that point, I thought, I kind of see the point, and now obviously that's I don't go hunt without a bino harness.
Yeah.
What changed my mind on bino harnesses too was because I used to use the same setup, just the little suspender style, and it wasn't so much the binos as it was the ability to carry other things in addition to binos. You got your binos there, but with the modular systems they have these days, you have your rangefinder off to one side, your headlamp, and some extra ammo on the other side, and you can put whatever you want in there.
Right.
So I like that.
Brad, what do you think?
Me, growing up in North Carolina, we didn't need this type of gear. Just never thought of it. But and even the first time I was here, I didn't use them. But leg gaiters,
Oh yeah,
them things. I don't go anywhere without leg gaiters. And not all the water in Alaska is waist deep. There's a lot of knee to mid calf, and I can jump across little creeks and streams. Not getting my pants soaked.
Walk through a field.
Or just walk through some brush and not be soaking wet. So those things, even if we're not hunting, I'm just out hiking with the family. I've got them on, or out going through the snow. Leg gaiters they're worth every penny.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of high tech ones coming out now. They're redesigned and really hold your ankles well and seal everything off down there. I mean, it's.
I've crossed many rivers that are knee deep and even a little over knee deep, and just before I go across them, even if it's not raining out, I'll just put on my rain pants. And then put my gaiters over the rain pants and cinch them down tight. And you just high step and awkwardly cross the creek.
Poor man's waders
in fast fashion. And you don't got to carry waders into the mountains, and that works great. If you have a good fitting pair of gaiters. My favorite pair of gaiters has been the Peak Stormcastle gaiters.
Just looking at ordering those.
Those are ultra tough. Those are by far the best long lasting gaiters that I've had yet. I have 2 full years now, spring and fall, on those, and they're still working just like they did when I first got them.
I was doing some research into the research they did when they were developing all of that stuff and the testing process that they went through and all the development time and everything. And it's a very well-designed gaiter.
And there's a lot of good gaiters out there. Sitka makes a decent one, but the fit isn't all that great. The Kuiu ones fit really, really well. They fit tight to your leg, but they were a bit too form-fitting for me. That's just not my preference. And none of them, like I said, have lasted me as long as the Peaks have. I've burned through a set of Kenetreks, a set of Kuiu gaiters, and a pair of Sitka gaiters in the time that I've had my Peaks ones. That they're lasting a long time. So I've been real happy with those. I mean, as far as gear goes that I haven't ever used before that I got into more recently.
Is there any gear you haven't used?
I was going to say, there's not a lot that I haven't used. I was trying to think about it, and I mean, a phone scope is probably is probably one of those things that I used to look at and kind of thought, I
remember that,
I don't need one of these things. And then I bought one, and I started using it on my loophole spotter that you've got now. And I was able to turn a sub-$1,000 spotter and put, an extra 10-power zoom into it with my phone. And then I can snap pictures of it, and even if it's a little bit blurry, you can then go into your gallery and then edit the picture and sharpen it up, and for sheep hunting. So now I don't go anywhere without some kind of a phone scope adapter. This last year, Olin Company came out with a modification type phone scope apparatus for your phone to go to your spotter.
Is that the magnetic one?
And then MagView came out with one.
That's the one I'm thinking
so
of.
there are 2 new competitors on the market for that phone scope style. Obviously, phone scope is the OG brand of that device.
Does anybody have one? Have you seen one for?
No.
Folding phones?
No.
Mariah has that Samsung folding phone.
I love that phone.
We'll get you an iPhone someday.
So you can send us crisp, clear pictures.
Airdrop, baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. You know, and the other thing, you know, the importance for those phone scopes
I thought of another one.
like what we were talking about in the moose episode.
Yeah.
You know, with being able to actually take an accurate picture and be able to kind of gauge the width of that moose.
Yeah.
And, you know, those phone scopes make it so much easier.
Sheep hunting, it's a big deal for me too. Being able to get some footage and it's great to have a phone scope adapter for your phone to your spotter.
That's a good one.
Didn't you the first phone scope you got didn't my dad give you that?
No, that one ended up not working out real well.
Oh, okay.
That one was an adjustable metal frame that could fit different phones, and it you had to reposition it every time you tightened it.
But it was
onto
still
the
your
spotter
first.
lens. Well, yeah, but I never even took it.
All right, just wanted to.
I thought of two more things, and one I won't spend very much time on, but range finding binos.
Oh yeah,
I never really thought that I would have any use for them, and now I couldn't imagine life without them.
I know.
I don't think I'm ever going to go back.
I know. I know 1,000% I would have a use for them.
Yeah.
I just also know 1,000% I can't afford them.
You know, I went from range finding binos to non range finding binos.
You regret it, don't you?
No.
No?
Nope. The reason I don't regret it is because for bow hunting, the dual setup is a lot better.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, the advantage to being able to carry one set of binos rifle hunting is great.
Yeah.
But being able to spend a lot less money on a good rangefinder and a really decent set of binos.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, a good rangefinding bino is going to cost you what, $1,400?
Oh, at least.
That's the entry level.
But I can go spend $200 or $300 on a rangefinder.
Yeah.
And, you know, $400, $500 on a halfway decent loophole set of binos.
Yeah.
And spend half the money.
Yeah.
And still get everything I need.
Now, I should put a caveat in here. I still do carry my SIG Kilo rangefinder when I'm bow hunting.
Yep.
That's got to come with me because yes, for bow hunting, and I've heard guys recently talk about using rangefinding binos even bow hunting.
Yeah.
I don't think that I can see a way of doing that.
It's the thing is
too much magnification. It's too much to hold in your hand and stabilize.
I was going to say that the benefit of the range finding binos is the long range effect because when you're looking at something that's 600 yards away, and you have to then put your binos down to then get your mono, your monocular
for me it's guided
out. Well, right, but what I'm getting at is like you've got to refine that sheep or that caribou that you're looking at, or whatever it is.
In your rangefinder,
and then
which is
maybe
only
that's
6
right.
power,
and then you go back to your binos and you have to find it again, and then back, and you're just switching back and forth. When you're up close, sub 60 yards, I mean, it's it's not that hard to find it again, whereas with
I agree.
At longer ranges, that's where the range finding binos really shine.
I agree, but
for guiding purposes, I will never use anything but range finding binos because I'm not the first shooter.
Right. Yeah. You can walk them in exactly right.
Exactly. And I can keep it in view and watch where the shot goes and all that.
Yeah.
Other thing I was going to mention, and these are things that I don't have quite yet, but I'm about to get, is some stuff from Spartan Precision.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
They have a binocular adapter that goes onto your tripod head. And since my particular binos don't have a threaded cap in the front of them for an adapter, it's just a ring that goes over one of the barrels on your binos.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And you just tighten it on there, and then you stick that to your tripod. So now I can use my binos on my tripod, which is phenomenal. And now I don't have to use a trekking pole for that.
Yeah.
And then they also have an adapter head that goes into that little magnetic receiver on your gun that replaces your swivel stud. They have an adapter head that goes on trigger sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, they developed it with Primos.
Nice.
So I'm going to be buying one of those. And then they also have an adapter head for trigger sticks that is a phone holder.
Okay.
Now I carry trigger sticks a lot spring bear guiding on the coast. Not just for shooting, but I mean for a walking stick, really.
Well, those allow you to get higher
because
up
I don't
too.
Use trekking poles on the flat beaches down south. I just hardly ever use trekking poles. I bring them when I'm packing something out.
Yeah.
If you have 150-pound brown bear hide on your back and you're stepping in silt and sand and beach mud, trekking poles are way to your advantage.
Yeah.
But also having that phone holder on the tripod sticks. Even if we're inside 100 yards, I'm not going to use I'm not going to use the trigger sticks to shoot off of for a backup shot, but I can set up my phone and film the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
that's
I'm going to be using that this upcoming spring here in about 6 weeks when I'm down there. So I'm excited. I have a whole cart full of stuff.
We'll look forward to hearing the report on them.
Yeah,
see how they do.
Hopefully we can show some footage at some point, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, I think that's all I have for new gear stuff. We got another email that I wanted to touch on really quick from Steven. And he wrote in, subject was episode 16 question. He says, "Hello, I emailed you from the direct website, had a question about listening to your episode 16. You had mentioned solid bullets that have a concave nose. Wondering if you can give me what brands you know of or have used. I would be looking to either hand load or buy factory ammo, so either way, any info would be great. Thanks for everything, and hopefully you got my other email."
We did, and I responded to that now. Yep.
Okay. Yep. Well, thanks for writing in, Steve. We appreciate it. Glad you like the show. The two particular models that I was talking about with concave nose solids are made by Woodley, or Woodley, however you want to pronounce that. I pronounce it Woodley. And the other one is Swift.
And I pronounce it right.
Okay. If somebody knows better, write us in. So the Swift is the breakaway solid, and that is a concave nose and has a little polymer tip on it. It's not like a Spitzer style polymer tip. It's just to fill that concave nose, and it does become displaced upon impact.
Yeah.
It's just to help with aerodynamics. And then also the Woodley bullet is it's called hydrostatically stabilized. So if you see them on a box, Federal loads them in their Safari Cape Shock line of ammo, and on the box, that's a clear plastic box, and it'll say, man, I'm spacing it out. Hydro solid, I believe is what they say, and that's the same basic design. It's got a concave nose in the front that aids in energy impartation, and it produces a better wound channel than a flat nose does. And they are stabilized 100% for straight line penetration. Now, I have zero experience with either one of these, and I've never hunted with anybody who does. These are specifically designed for African dangerous game, like the Big Five.
Yep.
We're talking about elephants, rhinos, hippos, and I guess occasionally Cape buffalo would be an item on that list as well, as a backup shot.
Yeah.
If your first shot was a soft or an expanding, as they use over there, a lot of times your PH will tell you that to put an expanding round in first, and then whatever's left in your magazine should be solids. These would be a great option for that because, like we said, they leave a better wound cavity than a normal flat nose or round nose solid would.
Yep.
So, but like I said, I don't have any experience with them, but those are the two that I was referring to. So.
Yeah.
And just for reference, too, those are not going to be in common hunting calibers for North America. These are going to be starting in .375 caliber, and they're going to go up, 416, 458, 500, 470, and things like that.
Do they make those in .375?
Yes.
They do?
Yeah,
okay.
They do. Yeah.
I would say I've always seen them in the big bores, the fours and up.
I see them more in that, but they do make them for .375 caliber. So.
Right on.
Anyway, I think that pretty well covers that. We can jump into the next thing. All right, folks, I want to take a second to tell you about a product I found this last year and have absolutely fallen in love with. It's the Stealthy Hunter rifle cover. I used one on a recent black-tailed deer hunt in southeast Alaska, and it did a great job of keeping the saltwater and debris out of the action and also protecting the scope on my rifle from getting knocked around and damaged. On top of all that, the carry handle made it easy to transport the rifle to and from the boat during the hunt. When it got wet from rain and ocean spray, I hung it up at camp to dry at night, and it was always dry in 20 minutes or less. Stealthy Hunter also offers a wide variety of nutritional supplements for the outdoorsman, such as CBD oils, essential vitamins, turmeric, and bone broth. In the gear shop, they also have a lightweight first aid kit, glassing pads, and stuff sacks to organize your gear and your pack. Go check out Stealthy Hunter's website and use the code TheNorthernHunter at checkout to get a discount on your order today. All Stealthy Hunter equipment is proudly made in the USA. So, Brad Ivey,
yes,
you live in Fairbanks, and we met at church quite a while ago. And so tell us about how you got up to Alaska, when that was, and just give us kind of a background of how you got up here.
So I got up here thanks to the Air Force. First time back in 2007. My wife and I moved up here, and then we were up here from 07 to 13. And then we PCS'd out and went to North Carolina to Seymour Johnson. And we came back up in, what year is this? 23? 21.
23, yeah.
March of 21, we came back up to Eielson. I've got a few more years left up here.
So your first assignment was Eielson then?
Absolutely.
Did you request Eielson?
So I had an assignment to, I believe it was Louisiana, but another kid wanted to go there that had Eielson. Like, I'll take Eielson, Alaska.
Yeah.
Got blessed and lucky to get that one.
Yeah.
How does the Air Force work as far as like selecting where you go? Are they pretty?
So
do you pretty much get what you get?
Do you have any say at all?
So depending on what time of year when the assignments come out, you can put your preferences. But ultimately, the Air Force is going to get what they want.
Right.
If they have spots available at a base that you're trying to get to, they'll send you. But Air Force needs obviously take priority. So
yep. Okay. Gotcha.
So did you grow up in North Carolina then?
Yeah, I grew up in North Carolina, born and raised until I left for the Air Force at the age of 18. So. Grew up hunting and fishing and loving every day.
Did your did your folks hunt back home?
They did. My dad, my whole family, we're all outdoorsmen. My brother and my mom, she loves the fish and stuff like that. And,
right on.
My dad has been he has been the biggest influencer on me hunting. Ever since I can remember being able to recall memory back that far. We've been out walking through the woods, squirrel hunting, going to the beach, fishing.
Yeah.
He's the only reason that I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. I'm not super familiar with that area down there, but the only time I've been down there is for basic training.
Right.
I was down there in Georgia, but so kind of in the vicinity of a couple 100 miles, but
it's all hot.
It's all hot. Do you guys hunt bears down there at all? Do you guys have those there? Or?
So they do on the North Carolina coast. Actually, have some of the largest black bears. Around.
Yeah.
Things get massive. I've never have seen a wild one. I've seen some pictures of some guys had on trail cams and stuff like that, but never hunted them. Never even thought about hunting bears.
Do you know if they allow baiting down there in North Carolina?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I think
I know guys use dogs.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of.
Right. And then guys just shoot them incidentally out of whitetail stands in the fall.
Yeah. Oddly enough, they'll come to corn piles. My uncle has shot a few black bears over corn piles.
I can see that.
I mean, it's modified bear baiting, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. If it's legal, get after it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're a bow hunter.
I am.
We all know that here. Did you grow up bow hunting at all? Who got you into bow hunting? And
absolutely.
How did you get started?
My dad, he is bow hunted ever since I can remember. Like gun season would come around, and he was always had a bow in his hand.
Okay.
He was sort of a local legend. He never really hunted out of tree stands.
Okay.
He was more not spot and stalking. He would just
still hunt.
Well, still hunt and just slip through the woods. He had trails that he'd slip through.
Yeah.
Cabela's used to make this old shoe look like an old Converse sneaker called the Corn Stalker.
Okay.
And that's what there was form fitting to the foot, and he'd slip through the woods and killed
like a little moccasin type.
Yep. And he would kill deer and just he had a knack for getting close to animals.
Nice.
So yeah, he got me into bow hunting. I killed my first deer. I think I was 11 years old. Single shot shotgun.
Yeah.
We're doing a little deer drive down there, and little button boat ran across the road, and I laid them out. I started bow hunting about that same time, 10 or 11 years old. Did not kill my first deer with a bow. I shot at a bunch. Missed a lot of them. Didn't kill my first one until I was 16. Finally killed a little 4-point, and
nice.
I've been stacking them up ever since then.
Yeah, well, that's great. So your dad hunted with a compound or a recurve?
Oh yeah, we're compound people. Like, I dedicated one full year to recurve, and I killed that 7-point with it, and I'll never go back. They call it a struggle stick for a reason.
Yeah. That's funny. That is funny. So what was your first bow?
Oh man, let's see. It was a Browning something back when Browning made bows.
Okay, yeah.
I remember having the first one, I'm not quite sure what it was. I know it was a Browning. The second one was a hand-me-down from my dad. It was a Browning Bridger. And I thought that thing was slick when I got
Cadillac.
Yeah.
Everybody back then shot overdraw, so everybody's shooting little short arrows and to try to get that speed out of their bows. And I thought that thing was slick. But you shoot that thing now, it's probably like shooting a spring.
You can hear the boing.
Right.
Did you have multi-pin sights then?
Oh, yeah. So back in the day, like now we got these fancy little fiber optics and some electronic sights, little rolling dials. Back then, it was just that little metal,
right?
Yeah.
Whatever you call them, prongs sticking out there with either having to touch them up with your mom's fingernail polish to get them colored again, or
right.
Then they got real fancy, put little 1/4-inch pieces of fiber optics on the end of them. Like, man, that is the ticket.
Yeah. Shoot well into the darkness. Yeah.
Flashlights in your mouth. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Just as long as you don't catch the flashlight lanyard on your bowstring. That's how you end up with an Alabama tooth job. Yeah. That's pretty funny. So you got up to Alaska in 2007.
2007.
First assignment.
Yep.
And you were at Eielson.
Yep.
So talk about when you moved up here, you were excited to hunt. What did you first start hunting when you got up to Alaska? Did it take you a little while? Did you have anybody that helped you along, or did you just kind of find your own way?
A little bit of both. The first hunt I went on was actually a springtime caribou hunt up off the Hall Road.
Okay.
We went up there. A guy had PCS'd in that had been stationed up here before, and he was looking for somebody to just go with him.
Yep.
So don't know who you are, but hey, you said you're going to go bow hunting, so I'm in. So we went up there. He called me Steve the whole trip. My name's not Steve, but he thought I was Steve. So
that's great. Depending on how the hunt goes, that might be a good thing.
Oh boy,
we ended up killing 4 caribou that trip.
Wow,
that was my first experience. I remember we were just north of Vatican Pass. Caribou everywhere, and it was cold, windy, and a North Carolina boy up there, and that I was not ready.
And this was in March, probably.
Oh, somewhere around there.
So that's still very cold.
Cold and windy, and I had blue jeans on and just probably my work boots and not ready.
Probably still a good amount of snow.
Oh, tons of snow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did see a giant ram down south of the pass, like down on the low level.
Yeah.
Giant. That's the biggest ram I've ever seen.
Down on the shelf or something.
Yeah. I got great pictures. He's like 20 yards off the road, just not a care in the world.
How'd you guys do on that hunt?
We did good. Yeah. I think it was 4 caribou we shot. And
really?
You guys each get 2 or what?
Yeah.
Nice.
Shot 2.
Very nice.
It was good. A good first trip.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding. Well, that's awesome. And then, so after that, did you develop any more desires to hunt any other species after that?
So then it was nobody really hunted in my shop. There was a few people that kind of hunted and stuff. So then this talk of bear baiting.
Yeah.
Right.
What is bear baiting? And everybody's talking, bear baiting, gotta go bear bait. We gotta put some baits out. Well, what is bear baiting? Where do you go? Like, how do I do this? Well, we gotta take the clinics. I went to the in-person bear baiting clinic and stuff, and sitting there and got that, and didn't know where to go, so we literally went to Google Maps and hey, let's try there.
Yeah.
So found a random spot off the road, and bushwhacked in. Mile and a half or whatever it was, a long ways, too far. And put up bait for what we knew how to do. Put up a camera had the little film canisters had to stick in them. So
really?
Develop them. Technology's came a long way since 08 to now.
I was going to say. No SD cards.
No. So we hung stands and actually killed my first black bear that year.
Very nice.
Yep,
very nice.
Wow.
Growing up as a deer hunter, we're not thinking sidearms or anything. So
right.
We just roll in there.
With a bow.
Roll in there with a bow. I had my buddy with me, Pete, and he didn't have anything with him. He just... Well, he's just going to sit the stand with me.
Just going up
he had dog food, so
dog food and grace.
As long as he can outrun Pete.
So you say that. So we go into that bait that night, and we get in there and scare a bear off the bait when we walk in.
Okay.
So like we're a little antsy, not quite sure what's going on. So let's hurry up and get the bait out.
Yeah.
We're doing a little bear crack burn and stuff. Getting some smell in the air, and we climb up in the tree. And we get up there, and we're sitting hour and a half or so. And I look out in front of me, and I see this black figure come walking around.
Yeah.
And
it's Bigfoot.
Yeah, dude. I was a giant squirrel. I didn't know what it was. So he walks in and doesn't even go to the bait. He was early spring, beautiful hide on it, but he was real skinny.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so I hadn't originally planned to shoot him.
Yeah.
Don't know why. You're in awe seeing a bear for the first time ever. I was like, there's a black bear sitting right there.
Yeah.
So he comes walking in, and my buddy had left his backpack at the base of the tree. And doesn't go to the bait at all, never touched it. Came to the base of that tree, ripped into that pack, and we had his digital camera, ate his GPS, was sitting there, and it got to a point where it was comical. And I'm up there starting to giggle and stuff, and trying not to laugh, and
your buddies just sitting there.
We're sitting there just looking straight below us, like that bear's just sitting there tearing his pack up.
Oh boy!
So, had either of you seen a black bear before at this point?
Or? Pete had killed one year before.
Gotcha. Yeah,
and he didn't know better than to leave his pack on the
ground. Nope. So we were sitting there, and finally the bear is like, "Wait, there's something else in here other than him." So he got all posturing, and there's a thicket next to us. And he ran over in there, was huffing and popping his jaws and stuff. And getting all like trying to figure out who and where we were at.
Yep.
And then he calmed down and went back and just tore into the backpack again. And by that time I lost it. I started laughing. That bear, no joke, sat down, looked straight up in that tree and like, gotcha.
Yeah.
Like that. Up at the base of our tree stand, just popping his teeth. And we're sitting there. My buddy Pete's, no bear, no, yelling at it like it's a dog. And
down, boy.
And Pete's like, if that bear comes up, because he was up under his stand. We had our stands kind of 45 degrees from each other.
Yeah.
So he was up right under his stand, popping his jaws.
No sidearms, no nothing. Yeah.
And Pete's like, if he comes up anymore, he was going to jump to the next tree. So I'm sitting there, and he's up there for 5 minutes or so, popping his jaws, and he comes back down, scratches his butt on the tree, and I anchor him at about a 5-yard shot, and he runs 10 yards.
Did he death moan?
No, never even had a chance to.
Okay.
He fell in a straight sprint and just boom.
Oh,
nice.
Fell over
awesome.
dead.
Double airbags?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. Nice. That was the one day I didn't bring the 4-wheeler, so we had to walk him uphill the whole way back out.
A mile and a half.
And that was
grief. Yeah,
we gutted them. And cut a tree down between us.
Yeah,
terrible idea.
Carry him out Indian style.
Oh, it was terrible.
It doesn't work out so
especially
good.
My buddy was on the back end, so the bear kept sliding down the pole. Going to his end.
Yeah.
My second year blacktail deer hunting down in Southeast, my buddy and I tried that, and we had killed 2 deer, and we were way upriver from where we split several times on the center drive one there, and we killed them like a mile and a half up that river.
Okay.
Up at the fork.
Yeah.
And we said, well, it's starting to get dark. We can just walk fast and just, gut these things and then just tie them both to a pole.
Oh, yeah.
So we did that. By the time we got back out to the beach where the skiff was, we were both had both hands underneath the pole trying to cushion your shoulder.
Yeah.
And it was just horrific. Yep. And we did it again the next day. We shot 2 more deer, and he said, let's do that again. But we had both brought our life jackets all the way up with us. So we just put on our float coats and just did that. We're like, we are the 2 most idiotic looking guys in the woods right now.
Improvise, adapt, overcome.
Yeah. But it worked. It was a lot faster than taking them apart. And, to be honest, we were a little bit paranoid because my buddy down there that operates down there, he had told us a story about a buddy of his that had killed a buck in that muskeg there.
Yeah.
And by the time he had shot it and taken it out of there, and then my buddy went in there to check on him because he heard the shot, he'd already taken the deer out, and the guts were laying there, or at least they were.
Yeah.
By the time my buddy made it in there, about a half hour later, there was already bloody bear prints in the snow. He said, I didn't know what had happened. I thought my buddy had gotten whacked by a brown bear. Because I just heard one shot, and then I see all his blood, and there's bear tracks in the middle of it. He said, so I just freaked, and I ran back out to the beach to see where he was, and he's sitting there with a buck. Look at what I got.
Yeah.
He's like, never do that again.
Yeah. I haven't done the pole style carry like that, but I told the story about how I got the bear last spring when I wasn't even planning on hunting. I was just in there checking cameras and stuff. And so I didn't have my pack board, anything. like I walked in there with a shotgun just to check cameras, and this bear walked in. And so I tried the fireman carry method to get it out of there because I wasn't trying to. I don't like gutting them at the bait site.
Yeah.
And so I tried throwing that whole thing, the 2 arms over the back and the head's dangling, smacking me in the head.
Yeah.
It doesn't work much better. I'll tell you that.
That's the way I carry them out now. I prefer that over between a log.
I try to use a pack board if I can.
Yeah.
But that's if you get a decent or a decently average sized one.
A couple of years ago, the black bear that Hunter shot with me out there, there were multiple shooters on that bait, and my wife wanted to hunt that stand the next night if he had shot one. So as soon as he gunned his down in dramatic fashion, I said, well, this is not even the biggest one in here. And there's a color phase one in here. And my wife wants to shoot one because she's up next with her bow. And so I said, well, we're not going to gut this thing here. And that bait is all uphill out of there, for the most part anyway.
Right.
And so we both had pack frames. And I just said, all right, roll it onto the frame, and we just strapped it up. And Hunter made it about 20 yards and just collapsed.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't do it, man. I can't do it. We got to gut this thing. I said, we are not gutting this thing.
Yeah.
Give me that pack. And so I carried it out. That was still the most intense short pack I've ever done. It was just, I mean, my legs were just on fire.
Well, and then like the one you got when you and I were out at the bait last year.
Yeah,
that thing
that was
heavy.
That was a big
brother.
bear.
Yeah,
and
that one was almost 7 foot squared.
We tore that one apart.
Yeah,
at down the hill, it had run off a ways, and so we felt comfortable tearing it apart there. And both pack boards loaded down still. That was a heck
the hide
of a haul
with the head in it, and I hadn't pulled toes yet. And then I took. I
think you had the front quarters.
Yeah, I took the front quarters, the hide and the head, and you took the 2 rear quarters, and then my bag ribs, of stuff.
The ribs, the burger bag, and then all the extra gear, other stuff.
And both packs were well over 80 pounds.
Oh, well.
It was hefty. And I was like, man, black bears are supposed to be this heavy, man. But that was the biggest black bear I shot by far.
That was a nice one.
Yeah.
I want to swing back to something that you mentioned a minute ago. You said that when you guys went into that bait, you had some you used a term that I know what you're talking about, but our listeners probably don't know, and that's bear crack.
You're right.
So explain what bear crack is.
So bear crack, what I usually do is just I carry a little small propane little cooker in with a pot. Don't carry one of your wife's pots out there. I did that. She was not happy. But I usually use like a couple things of blueberry syrup and some marshmallows, vanilla extract, and maybe some brown sugar, throw in there, and you just get that stuff to boiling, and I let it burn. I'll let it start just puffing out smoke, and fill the whole canopy of trees with that smoke, and it'll linger.
Yeah.
So not the literal crack.
It's a really good way to get your scent.
Isn't there a
very far away?
It just permeates. And then if you have a nice little breeze, it'll go up or down valley from there.
Yeah, as the thermal winds come through and everything.
That just works awesome.
It does get into your clothes. So
it does.
I usually smell like a blueberry for the whole season.
And I know guys that use honey and other things, honey burns.
And Beta 907 does make great burn formulas as well.
I've used several of theirs.
I've killed a couple of bears off of 907, Beta 907 burn formulas.
That makes some really good
stuff. I am a firm believer in doing some type of a burn.
Yeah.
Because I've done it where we either didn't have time getting to the stand late. I know bears are going to be around coming in. I didn't do it. And then we did not see the bear activity that we were expecting.
Yeah.
And then nights when we would burn, they're just there.
They come right back. Yeah.
One thing I was thinking about trying this year just because it would be a nice snack anyways, but I've heard guys cooking bacon up in the stand. Having a little jet boil or something like that with the pan on it. Just cook up some bacon,
just get bacon grease all over yourself.
Yeah. Man, just sitting up there bear hunting, eating bacon. Man, that's right. Doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah.
But so how long was it between the time that you found out you were coming up here and you actually showed up? Was that?
I'd say probably 3 or 4 months.
3 or 4 months?
Yeah.
Did you have time to do a lot of research into hunting or anything like that, or was there a specific thing you zoned in on? I didn't
have smartphones, didn't have computers. Then I just going to Alaska.
Did you ever have any desire to come to Alaska from your childhood? Was it ever even really on your radar?
No, that was never a thought to ever go travel hunting.
Yeah,
growing up, I couldn't afford it for one thing.
Yeah,
and then just never even thought of it, except for that one. I put it on Instagram a while back. Chuck Adams with his world record grizzly brown bear.
Yeah.
That picture will still resonate in my mind for forever. That has always been the number one goal of mine, to go kill a brown bear with a bow.
Mm.
But so that was always in the back of the mind. Go.
Well,
Kodiak.
I know a guy.
Do you?
Yeah.
Kodiak brown bear. So I knew that part, but
Yeah.
as far as ever thinking it would come to reality to be up here, never thought that would happen.
Yeah.
Right on.
That's awesome. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about a summary. Now we're just going to kind of do a quick jump through the years. You killed a caribou almost immediately,
Yep.
and then you killed a black bear over a bait.
Yep.
Do you have you stayed consistent with bear baiting, and then have you hunted moose with your bow? And talk about a few other hunts you've done through the years.
Bear baiting. So I was here 07 or 13. That was the only bear I killed in that time I was up here.
Yeah.
That bait that we killed that bear off of seemed to be a one bear wonder.
Yeah.
So after that, I even went out there again since I've been back up here, and we baited it the first year since I've been back. Not a single thing in that area.
Really?
There's certain valleys that are just that way.
Yeah.
So I've had pretty good luck so far with bears coming back. So, but
since 2021.
yes, it's 2021 coming back up here. But I was up here the first time. I mainly focused on caribou up the Hall Road. That was that's one of my favorite hunts to do, is go up there.
Yeah.
If you can get away from the people, pick a time of year when people aren't going.
Yeah.
Usually that first week of September was my favorite time to go, because usually your moose hunters are all down somewhere moose hunting, and
Right.
few less people up there chasing caribou around.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
How many times you been up there?
Oh, my soul. 30 plus.
Wow.
I've been up there a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Used to go up there 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah.
So what's your best bull that you've shot up there so far with your bow?
Oh, 2010. That's the earliest I'd ever been up there. We ended up killing 5 caribou and a grizzly bear that trip. We didn't see many caribou, but the ones we saw were quality.
Yeah.
We saw some big bulls. I ended up shooting one. We were up there for 10 days. I shot one on the second day, and he was 10 inches off world record with a bow. He was a freaking stud.
Yeah.
We were actually sitting there talking to the troopers up on one of the little pull-offs, sitting there just shooting the breeze.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my buddies like, holy tops. And we look over under the pipeline. Here come this bull with he's a big boy.
Yeah. Was it like the real trash? Like they kind of get like that.
He's got moose antlers on top.
Yeah.
And he's all palmated out on top.
I love
and
that
everything.
look.
Yeah.
He's got whale tails coming off the back that are probably 3.5, 4 foot long.
Oh, man.
And
gorgeous.
So
big old back
gorgeous
scratchers.
yeah, so we went off after him, and I got fortunate. He went away from me, and I didn't know till later, because we had an audience on the road, all the trucks sitting there watching us.
Right.
And unbeknownst to me, until later that evening, the guy had came up the backside of the hill and pushed him back to me.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I never had a chance in the world until the other guy came up and pushed him back, and he came
Yeah.
to about 40 yards, and I put a couple arrows in him.
Yeah.
First shot wasn't that good, because I don't even think I looked through my peep sight, just held it up there and let it go.
Yep.
Yeah.
But he's my biggest. I probably will never top that one.
Yeah.
Which I'm fine with. He's
Yeah.
actually
Hey,
Mariah's dad mounted that one for me
Okay.
Nice.
years ago.
Yeah,
You ever
very
got
nice.
that officially scored or put in the record books?
So I tried to,
Mhm.
but I had the score to come do it. But your dad split the skull, and once he split the skull, I couldn't do it because he couldn't put it into his freezer.
Yeah.
So he had to split the skull.
Right.
I was like, oh, well, there went that.
Gotcha.
Bummer.
Yeah.
Bummer. Well, you can at least measure it yourself and just get a rough idea of what it would
so
have
we
been.
had a green score. If I remember correctly, it was like 426 and some change.
Oh my goodness.
He was a big boy.
Yeah.
And for
Yeah.
those that are listening, a 400-inch bull caribou is the equivalent of a 75 or 80-inch bull moose, or a 44-inch Dall sheep. I mean, that is
just
just
He's a big boy.
Yeah.
tank, absolute tank.
Yo.
Well, that's awesome.
Well, dive in a little bit about that the grizzly bear you guys got on that trip.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting.
So that one, let's see, just for reference before we get moving too far.
Mhm.
So
Man.
yeah,
Those things are
We'll have to.
those tines are thicker than your
Very
wrist,
nice.
man.
We'll have to put that on the Instagram.
Yeah.
For this
Yeah,
episode.
for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So-
pretty awesome.
the grizzly bear one of my buddies actually shot that, and it had been we were there before the grizzly season opened,
Okay.
and I can't remember what day it actually opened up on, and we had been seeing this one bear hanging around, and we knew it was there. So we were waiting, and then that night it opened up.
Okay.
Those guys, my buddies, I had already shot my bull. I was tired, and I remember it was raining that night, and they went out on opening day and swacked that one.
Nice.
It's nice. It's for an Arctic bear. Yeah. It's one of the prettier ones I have seen. They're real beautiful. Blonde coat is an absolutely beautiful bear. Yeah. I think that was like 7.5.
Okay,
squared out to be.
That's a good bear.
That's a
absolutely.
Good one. Yeah,
7.5 is nice mature bear,
especially for up there.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, those bears up in the northern third of the state, they're the same family as brown bears are on the coast, but because they sleep longer and they don't have as rich of a diet with all the fish,
they don't get the salmon up there.
They don't get that size, but proportionately speaking, you judge them the same way as you do a brown bear.
Okay.
I mean, a 7.5 foot grizzly bear up in the Brooks Range has all the same characteristics as a 10-foot brown bear does down on the coast.
Oh yeah, that thing had a massive hump in its mouth.
Yeah, big old hump, ears off on the side of the head, forehead ridge, crease, and big lunky shoulders, and they have all the same characteristics. It's just to scale differently than the brown bears are. Yeah.
So what have you done differently this go round in Alaska versus your first one?
So that first trip up here, you're learning everything. Right. So it's actually been super nice coming back up here, kind of knowing the area, knowing where to go. That first year, I'm not one of the guys that'll go ask people, hey, where are you going? How are you doing this? This is not my personality.
Because that usually ends up in a whole lot of rejection.
Yeah.
It does, yeah.
And I don't handle rejection very well. That's why I only dated my wife. I can't handle rejection.
There you go.
But so the first years I was up here, it was tough, and it was just going around a lot of miles, just driving and just trial and error.
Yeah.
This next time coming up, now it's been a lot easier, just because you kind of had the lay of the land,
right? That eyes on kind of hands on experience.
So it's been the caribou. I will say the caribou up on the North Slope have changed. They're definitely not. They don't seem to be there like they used to be. So that's been a little tougher of a hunt than I was expecting it to be. But, we've still had chances every time we go up there.
That's with migrational pattern changes.
Well, and that herd up there, all those herds up north have been going through some population swings recently. And,
they fluctuate a lot. Yeah,
they hit an all-time low back in about 16, 17 is when they kind of they hit that low end of the dip, and they have been coming back. I've been listening in and keeping track of what's going on, and they're coming back. I think they're back up to. I think that the Eastern Arctic caribou herd they said the last report I heard is it's back to where they want it.
Is it the Eastern Arctic or is it the porcupine?
Well,
the porcupine herd.
I know the porcupine herd's doing good.
Yeah,
doing good. Yeah. That was one that he brought up a little bit ago.
Okay.
So they're on the way back. They're they're coming, but they kind of hit a dip, not too long ago. Right. So it'll be a little while before they hit the higher end of that swing again.
Yeah. I remember going up there before, and it was nothing to see 1,500, 2,000 caribou in a few days.
Right.
If not a day.
Right.
But now going up there, we went up there a couple years ago. And I think we saw 50 caribou in about 8 days. Total.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. It was kind of depressing.
Yeah. Did they behave differently? Like maybe getting used to hunting pressure at all, or?
No, they were still. I mean,
no,
they just weren't there.
Yeah.
So I put one stalk on in that 8 days we were there, and I didn't even get within bow range.
Really?
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah, for sure.
Beautiful country, at least.
I love that trip.
Yeah,
I absolutely love driving the whole road.
Have you killed any moose with your bow yet?
So I was actually fortunate this year to kill a town moose, a nice bull in town. I killed a cow years ago on a draw tag. Back up here the first time. So I was in the Fairbanks management area. I killed a cow then.
Okay.
And this year, first time. So my focus for coming up this trip, I wanted to focus on moose because I always focused on caribou. I said I want a moose.
Yeah.
So I did a little traveling this past moose season. Went down south a little bit and seen more moose than I've ever seen anytime I've ever actually went and looked for moose.
Yeah.
Seen a lot of bulls. I am not one to be a expert on judging moose, so I was looking for that 4 brow tines.
Yeah.
It was a 4 brow tine in 50-inch area.
That's the safest way to tell.
Yeah.
And But everybody I showed that video to, I've showed it to Dalton and a few other people. Oh, that's a 55, 60 incher. I was like, well, he's still walking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I wasn't comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And I was bow hunting and just never, he was probably a mile away.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
that's a long way to stalk if you're not sure.
Well, it's a long way to judge one, too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Unless you have them in a good spotter and you get a nice clear, well, not even clear, but a little bit of a hazy day with some flat light, and you get a nice, clear, crisp look with no heat waves, then you can look at them from a mile. But a lot of times you got to get in closer than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I spent the first part of my moose season this year down south and hunted down there for several days and just enjoyed it. Enjoyed every minute of it. Went down there with some guys and had a good time. Then I came back up here and figured season's still open for the Fairbanks management area. And we'll go try to put some miles on the boot leather and walked a lot and went to a lot of new areas. And ended up finding a spot where there were moose. And it took me a while to actually find a bull.
Yeah.
There were definitely signs, but never really did see the moose. I could see where they were, picked up a few sheds while I was walking around.
There you go.
Yeah.
And ended up, I think it was the weekend before the season went out, and I knew I was going to have to work that week, so I wasn't going to be able to hunt. So I actually skipped out on church that night. And
oh, man.
So that's what I was like, but I went for
obviously the Lord wasn't too upset about it.
Right. So I went for a walk and I wasn't seeing anything. I wasn't seeing any fresh sign until I got way back in there where I was going and ended up seeing some pretty fresh moose tracks. And I walked around and wasn't seeing anything. My wife texted me.
Yeah.
I was like, see anything? I was like, no, not really. She's like, did you pray yet? I was like, nope, I hadn't prayed yet. So I stopped right there. I got on my hands and knees out there in the middle of the woods and prayed. I was like, God, it's like, I've been practicing. I'm ready. Like, if you want to put a moose out there, go ahead. I mean, I'm ready. So I said amen, stood up. I kid you not, I walked 5 feet and I heard a bull grunt.
No kidding.
You kind of had that like deer in the headlights look like, God, are you serious? Like, right now? Like, you're going to put him here right now? So
I said I was ready, but man,
give me a warning. Give me some time to prep.
Can you just hold him there for a minute? I got to get my release out of my pocket.
So I was sitting there, and I had heard a bull grunt before. The last trip I was up here, and so I knew what it was, but I didn't. My mind was like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
Right. So I'm sitting there listening, closing my eyes, and trying to. Okay, is that what you heard? And I could hear him. Then I could hear him raking. I was like,
yeah.
Okay, I know what that is.
Yeah.
So I started calling back to him, and he's calling, and I'm calling, and he's answering everything, and I can't tell where he's at because there's a little valley I'm in, and I know he's around there. And then a plane's flying over, and I was like, well, there goes.
What kind of visibility do you have down there?
Anywhere, I'd say out about 50 or 60 yards.
50, 60 yards, okay. Yeah.
But there was a little drainage.
Yeah.
So he was on the other side of that where I didn't have visibility to where he was at. I left and right, I could see just fine. And behind me, but where he was in, I just could not get a visual into it. And a plane was flying over, and he was flying low. I was like, well, there goes the moose. He's gone. And so the plane flew over. I didn't hear him. And then I could hear something behind me. And I looked around, and the squirrels back there doing their thing.
Yeah.
And I turned back around, and he is standing at 25 yards.
Okay.
Standing there, and I'm in the open, and I'm on my knees, and he has got me pinned, looking at me. And you kind of freeze, understand what to do. I grab my release, put it on, and I'm sitting there, and I range him one time. He's 25, and he takes a few more steps. He starts swaying that head and starts glucking. And I drew back and anchored it right behind his shoulder, and he didn't run 25, 30 yards.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah,
he was a 40-inch bull.
Yeah.
Very nice for that area too.
Yeah. That is for the Fairbanks area. That's really nice.
That's a phenomenal bull.
Yeah, that's
great.
There's no a big reason there's no antler restrictions in the Fairbanks area is simply genetics.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're not. You don't typically see. You can see those big massive bulls sometimes, but the common one you'll see is closer to that 40, between 40 and 50. I would say.
So I have seen some big ones.
They're there, but
I've got one. I know where he's hanging out. He's probably pushing 60. But I only seen him once this past year during the summertime.
And there's probably a reason he's still around. He's a smart one. So go in a little bit. When you're looking for an area, obviously we're not going to ask you where you were or anything like that. But like, what features were you looking for in an area for anybody else who's going to want to do maybe a management hunt area or, any kind of a bow, like trying to get in close, like the moosey area kind of stuff, like a little bit of what you look for, what you kind of.
I look for things that will keep people out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That make people not want to go to that area,
Yeah.
whether it's a lot of walking or terrain features that people don't want to go up and down.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's typical I look for. And if it's close to water, like I'm no professional moose hunter. Don't get me mistaken for that. But that's just after years of watching Jim Shockey. That's just kind of what I look for.
Yeah. He's a great guy.
That's not that's not a bad strategy. Yeah. There's a reason that we call them swamp donkeys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I you told me what area you were in, and I've hunted in there myself, and I had plans this year. Same thing. I was like, all right, after regular moose season, when I can bow hunt management area, I'm going to walk back there every day. Well, that didn't happen. It was, and I did once, and well, you got the moose because you actually did it.
Yeah.
The difference was he prayed.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey. From where I was walking to where like the hunt started, I had about a 15-minute walk, and I'd pray every minute of that walk.
Right.
Please. Can I get one like Brad did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Well, actually, you and I know somebody else that killed a monster in there.
I've known several people
not
kill
so
moose
many
in there.
years ago either. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
We don't have to go off into any more detail without disclosing anything.
Everybody knows that one of the most important pieces of a hunter's kit is their knife. Whether you're looking for a fleshing blade, a skinning blade, or just a quality, multi-purpose knife for the backcountry, Yukon River Knives has what you need. They offer blades such as the Hunter, Small Game, and the Sendero Bush Knife. Yukon River Knives is based in Texas and has a unique mission goal in that a percentage of all knife sales go to support a missionary in Alaska. Now, Dalton, you've experienced with these knives in the field. Talk to us about that.
As a matter of fact, I have used a few of their knives and watched my good friend Remy use them for years with great results. They have a micarta handle that doesn't get slippery when it gets wet, and they have phenomenal edge retention for long skinning jobs. Go check out our web link on thenorthernhunter.com, and that'll take you directly to Yukon River Knives website to see their full selection and order your knives for your next hunt with the discount code TheNorthernHunter at checkout. And remember, nothing replaces a quality hunting knife.
Hey guys, if you've listened to the show for any amount of time, you've likely heard Dalton and I go back and forth about bullet construction and how I like rapid expanding bonded core bullets that leave massive wound channels. I've also stated I would never use a monolithic bullet. Well, I'm here to tell you about the company that finally changed my mind. Hammer Bullets produces what I would consider the most premium and best working monolithic bullets on the market today. These bullets are designed so that after penetrating the hide of an animal, the front half of the bullet explodes, shedding its petals and imparting massive damage to the vital areas while retaining the rear shank for maximum penetration, effectively closing the gap between lead core and monolithic construction. The guys at Hammer designed these bullets with 100% focus on how they perform once they reach their destination. But don't let that fool you. These bullets have amazing VCs and have specialized pressure grooves built in for amazing inherent accuracy. They have a minimum velocity rating of 1,800 feet per second, which allows for long-range shots but have no maximum velocity, making them perfect for every cartridge from your granddaddy's old 30-30 to the high-velocity rounds like the Weatherby 3378 without having to worry about your bullet failing. They've also recently partnered with Weatherby to provide factory ammunition for a multitude of cartridges. To view their expansive selection and find the perfect match for your hunting needs, go to hammerbullets.com to buy yours today and drop the hammer on your next adventure.
So let's park on bow hunting for a minute.
Absolutely.
And let's talk about ethics and gear that you've gone through over the years and how that's changed and how technology in bow hunting has changed. I know that's come a long ways.
Oh, yeah.
And then let's talk about how people tend to get themselves in over their heads with bow hunting. And I'll just let you go ahead and just talk about that for a few minutes.
So I remember growing up, my dad had this fancy new piece of gear the rangefinder.
Yeah.
But y'all remember the rangefinders where you'd put it up and you'd had a little twist dial.
Yeah.
And you had two images had to line up
the
on
focus dial.
Yeah.
That was the cool. That was slick. If you had one of those back when I was growing up, like you were
high tech.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember I never had one. I'd usually go out to a tree stand somewhere and I'd have to walk off
step it off,
and go put my arrows. I'd carry broken arrows with me and mark out 10, 20, 30.
Yeah.
And we'll do that. But technologies came a long ways, and not just rangefinders, so sights, everything.
Yeah.
But, so we talked about earlier, I started out like just a Browning bow and then went into I finally upgraded. I shot PSC bows for a little while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those were great bows I shot then. And
I think my first one was the Stinger X. I don't know which model you had, but it was the Cabela special back in the day. $400, came with everything on it.
Yeah, my first PSC I had was a PSC Scorpion.
Okay.
It was a single cam bow.
Okay.
But the main cam was on the top, and your idler wheel was on the bottom.
Okay.
That was PSC's engineering thought behind that was when you had that single cam, it would kick the bow. Instead of kicking it up, it would kick it down to keep it more to where in your line of shooting.
Interesting.
I can see where that. Yeah, I can see where they would go with that.
They only made it 1 year, so
it
worked that well. I shot PSC for a while, and then when I moved up here, I went and I bought a Bowtech, the Bowtech Tribute. Shot that for 1 year. That's what I shot my first caribou with that bow. And then I finally saved up enough money and bought a Matthews, and I've been shooting a Matthews ever since then. I'm not the Matthews fanboy like there's a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
That's just
they've got a bit of a following.
They do, and they shoot well for me. I shoot them very well. I shoot other bows well too, but the Matthews just for me fits me and what I like to do in my shooting style very well.
Yeah.
So I've stuck with that. What else? What else you want to know?
Let's talk about draw weight for a second.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
So what did you start with shooting when you were 18, 19, and then you moved up here? Your first black bear that you mentioned you shot over bait, and then that first caribou, the first couple of caribou.
Yeah.
What draw weight were you shooting about that time?
So I've been shooting 70 pounds ever since I was probably about 17 or 18.
Okay.
So I've shot 70 pounds. Now I'm shooting 80.
Okay.
But yeah, 70 pounds is plenty to do anything you need to do with in North America anyways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, plenty, depending on the bow and arrow setups.
And you were shooting aluminum arrows likely back in the day?
When I was younger as a kid, we shot aluminum. I think it was 2312, Easton 2312.
Yeah.
So I started shooting big fat things.
The camo hunters.
Yep.
That's what I shot out of my recurve for a long time.
Yeah, I shot a lot of those too.
Long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I shot, and I think then Beeman came around. Beeman is not, you don't really hear much about them anymore as far as arrows go.
All right.
But I shot Beeman arrows for a while, and then when Gold Tip first came out, a buddy of my dad's had Gold Tips, and that was like the expensive arrows back then.
Yeah.
That was what everybody had to have.
Now you can buy them in
a
box a half dozen for $30.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I still shoot Gold Tips. I've toyed around with a few other arrow brands here and there and arrow types with like Full Metal Jackets and stuff. But Gold Tips, that's just what I shoot. I prefer, and they do well for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of broadheads have you come to like over the years?
Well, what'd you start off with? We'll do that. Like starting off down there, hunting deer and stuff like that, and how that kind of evolved as you got up here.
So,
and what are you using now?
If y'all were like me, growing up as a kid, you had the Cabela's catalog.
Yeah.
And we were fortunate to have the master catalog, the big thick one that had all the catalogs inside of it.
Hardback.
Yeah. So you were fancy.
About 3 inches thick.
Yep.
Yeah.
I had every page memorized in that book.
Yeah.
And so my dad would buy the Cabela Special, just a 3-blade, fixed blade broadhead, and that's what he shot. So that's what I shot because that's what we had extras laying around.
Right.
They worked well. I shot deer with those.
Were those made by a Muzzy?
I don't know. They were Cabela's. They were the Cabela's.
Were they razor blade or cut on contact, just one piece, 3 blades?
Pretty sure they had like a chisel tip, if I'm not mistaken. Like the blade would slide in and screw the chisel tip.
It was like a Muzzy Trocar.
Yeah,
or
something like that, but not near what those are today.
Yeah.
So that's what I started out with. I shot fixed blades for a long time. Finally went up to shooting the Muzzies. Then you buy the pack of 6 Muzzy, the MX3s or MX4s.
Yeah.
I shot those for a lot of years. Shot my first that first cow moose I actually shot with an MX4.
Okay.
And killed her with that. That was before mechanicals were legal up here in Alaska.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had to have a fixed blade for those.
Yeah.
And then I found the world of mechanical broadheads.
Okay.
And I have not turned back since. I love mechanical broadheads. Depending on who they are, I've shot most of them. Whether it be NAP, Rage, Whacker's what I'm shooting now.
Yeah, I've read a lot about those.
I love them. Absolutely love them.
Interesting.
Yep. So I know y'all's stance on broadheads.
Yeah.
And stuff,
I was just gonna say that could be an interesting conversation to have.
That's why I'm
right
anxious
now.
to talk about that. Kind of peel that back a little bit.
That's the good stuff there.
Okay. So how heavy an arrow weight are you shooting?
So mine are anywhere between 420 to 450.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm
Out
not
of an 80-pound bow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you're zinging them.
I'm sending them out there about 305, 310. Usually.
Yeah. Gotcha.
At my draw, I can shoot a 28-inch draw. So
yeah.
And I keep my arrows about as short as I can get them.
Yeah.
Before they fall off my wrist.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And do you have a fixed pin sight right now, or do you have a dial sight?
No, I use a Spot Hog Fast Eddie XL.
Yeah, me too.
I got the 2-pin slider.
Do you have the micro pin for it? Yeah, that's the exact same one I've got. Yeah. And so I just because I know how different our setups are, and we use the same sight, how far can you get with that second pin before it interferes with your arrow?
So I'm out to 142 yards.
My goodness, man.
Mine is half that. I shoot a 70-pound bow with a full length full metal jacket.
A 30-inch arrow? 32-inch arrow?
Yeah, 32-inch arrow with 150 grain broadhead. And it's
Y'all put any brass behind your nocks or anything?
Not yet, but I'm working on it. It's going to get heavier because
FOC.
brown bear with a bow is also on my list.
Absolutely.
My sight, and for those listening, you have a little an adjustment wheel on the side of your sight housing that you have a preset sight tape once you figure out the trajectory for your particular bow and what arrow combination you're shooting. And when you figure that out, you put that little sticker on there, which seems hokey at first, but I've never had one come off.
Nope, I've never had one.
And I don't know of anybody that has.
Nope.
And then so you can range, and then you have 2 pins on one single vertical pin in your sight housing. And you have 2 indicators on the side of your slider bar, on your roller that shows you what those pins are at any given rotation. And then you can just dial it just like a scope turret, basically.
Yeah,
just a little bit different, but
imagine the
same
elevation
idea.
turret on your scope. Just turn
and so
sideways.
and as you rotate that sight roller, it moves the whole sight housing down, which brings your trajectory up. But my sight housing comes down and interferes with my top fletch.
Now I will say I do cheat a little bit when I get 142. After the top of my bubble.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So actual pin is probably 120 or something.
Yeah, I think like 128.
Okay.
Yeah.
120, 130.
He knows exactly.
Mine,
That's still ridiculous.
128 and a half.
Yep.
Yeah.
0.5.
my second pin maxes out at, I think, 78 yards.
No.
And so my bubble I can get out to about 100 or so.
I can't remember what sight scale I shoot. I think it's like a 16. I think is what I shoot.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
There's only all the little that does make it hard though, because all my little individual yardages they're real small together.
Yeah.
But I like that because if I'm caribou hunting, I have an animal at 60 yards.
Yeah.
I range him at 60. He starts walking now. He's 66 yards, 67 yards. That 60-yard pin, I'm still shooting flat and straight enough where I'm not going to have that much of a drop.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
for me, if anything's past 40, I need to adjust because I'm shooting a lot of difference.
Now, with your current setup, the way you have it, what do you call your ethical range? What's your cutoff for that setup?
As far as my wheel will go.
As far as your wheel will go.
No, I me personally, I shoot a lot. I shoot a lot, and my average range day, we don't come in past or anywhere closer than 100.
Okay,
that's just where it's fun to watch to drop them things at 100 plus yards.
Yeah. So you're practicing consistently at those ranges. Yeah. Gotcha.
So it depends on the animal. I don't know if I would shoot that bull moose I shot last year. He was at 20 yards.
Right.
I shot slam through him. So I would say a big animal like that, like if that moose was at 80 is probably about as far as I would shoot.
Okay, yeah.
Caribou, I have no problem. 100, 105, 110.
Okay. Yeah.
Put there to them.
So what's the furthest you shot a caribou?
90, 96.
96.
That's a long ways out there.
One shot?
One shot.
Yeah.
Stopped her. It was a cow. Stopped her in her tracks.
How, I was just going to ask how far did you get through? All the way? All the way?
It was hanging out both sides.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Yep, nice.
Yeah. Very nice.
And
Very nice.
I think I shot her with a rage.
Okay. Yeah.
So then let's, I guess let's just have this discussion.
Let's do it.
We're here. So I grew up shooting a trad bow.
Yep.
I've mentioned that before. And reading traditional bow hunter magazine all my life. And all of my hunting heroes growing up, if you will, were trad bow hunters. And my dad's dad owned a big archery shop on the coast of California.
Oh, no way.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Huge shop.
No way.
Back in it was called Roman Archery. And that would have been in the 60s and then early 70s.
Huh.
And he guided a bunch of high-profile guys in the bow hunting industry, and he would guide them out on the Catalina Islands off the coast of California, where they used to have goats and all kinds of feral stuff that's now been all exterminated.
Yeah.
It's been killed and helicoptered out of there. But so he used to hunt back in there. And he had, big store, and he was, I mean, when you say championship archer, he was championship archer. And these are in the days when the compound was still a 45-inch axle-to-axle bow, heavy.
No let off.
Metal riser, very little let off, and still wooden limbs.
Yeah.
And you're still shooting with a finger tab.
Yeah.
And so that's how, and he didn't shoot sights either, by the way. And he had grown up, through the poorer times. He didn't come from a wealthy family, and so he hunted a lot for food for the family. And so archery was just from a child. He was a bow hunter. He just got good at it. He had natural skill to bow hunt, and so he went from a recurve to a compound when they came out. But he still shot him fingers and no sight. Yeah, and he just had that eye. And that there's all kinds of stories passed down from family members about kills that he had with a bow at just obscene ranges. Yeah. And I've shot my bow with the dial sight out to 100 yards, and I can put 3 arrows in a pie plate after I've been practicing for weeks in a row in the summertime. Yeah. If I'm in good proper form, I'm very confident of shooting a moose, like you said, at 80, 85 yards with a bow. No problem there. And caribou, sure, it's just caribou. You know, that's the stance that I take on that. No, but for his time, my grandpa was shooting no sights, no let off, finger tab. There's a whole lot more human error involved.
Oh, absolutely.
Exponentially more human error involved than we have now. And he killed his first bull moose at 97 yards, and he killed his first caribou at 110.
I love that.
1 arrow each.
That's awesome.
I'll have to show you pictures off the air about that. But he was a master archer.
Oh, that is.
And so bow hunting was just, in my blood from a young age. And in the trad bow world, and by the way, he did pass away in 2007. And so I never had the chance to hunt with him. But before he had passed away, years before that, he had switched back to recurves because he felt that it was cheating to shoot modern compounds. He said, it's too easy. He said, I might as well just shoot a gun. Yeah. And so he went back to a recurve and shot that. And still to this day, if he were still here, I'm sure could outshoot me with a trad bow. Wow. No doubt. Yeah. So anyway, I grew up with the trad bow mindset of heavy arrow, high forward to center weight, FOC is what they call that. And then fixed blade cut-on contact broadheads. And that's how you get penetration. And the justification for that is the lack of velocity. Right. Because out of a trad bow, a hot trad bow is 200 foot a second. Right. And that's with a real light arrow. That's not a hunting bow setup. Most traditional bows are 150 to 180, if even that. They're not all that fast. Right. And so... I've killed a couple of animals with a bow, both black bears, and I've shot fixed blade cut on contact broadheads. My first one with a recurve was a 53-pound Bob Lee recurve.
Oh, nice.
And that was the one that I'd shot all through my high school years. And then when we moved back to Alaska when I was 16 years old, I went out to a bear bait with now my father-in-law, and I shot a nice color phase black bear at, 15, 20 yards, and shot it through the ribs with a Easton Camo Hunter aluminum arrow and a Muzzy Phantom 2-blade with 2 bleeder blades. It was the Fred Eichler broadhead. So that's why I shot that. And it blew clean through that black bear and stuck in the root ball behind it, and I had to cut it out of the root ball out.
Nice.
And that bear staggered 10 yards maybe, and then was bleeding out like a tap both sides. Just plop, just fell down. He was dead within seconds.
Nice.
And then the last one, I've killed 3 with a bow. And then the last 2 that I've shot with a compound, I've shot G5 Montec 3-blade fixed cut on contact broadheads, and neither one of them have gone more than 30 yards each.
Yeah.
So I subscribe to the heavy arrow theory.
Yeah.
Like I said,
it kind of matches you with the whole big bore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, bigger is better is better is better. And so now I'm really curious because you said that moose that you shot last year, you shot clean through it.
Clean through him.
He was 25 yards.
Yeah. And he was quartering to me. I shot him quartering to, and he came out in front of his hips.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Did you break through anything on the way through?
Missed every rib.
Missed every rib.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't know how that.
So
just threaded the needle.
Have you been shooting expandables ever since you moved up here, or did you ever go through any kind of a transition period from fixed to expandable?
There was a transition period from the first time. Well, the first time I was up here, you couldn't shoot.
That's right.
Mechanicals at was it moose, grizzlies, and the larger ones.
Yeah, the species specific. Yeah, the larger.
So you can still shoot them at caribou. So I used mechanicals, caribou hunting, and I'd switch over and have to retune my bow for fixed blades, for moose hunting and stuff like that. But once I left here, no, I have not put a fixed blade broadhead back on my arrows, and I will never.
So go into that a little bit. Go into your reasoning there.
Yeah.
So shooting the distances that I like shooting, anything that has, in my mind, anything that has a wing or a blade has a tendency or a chance to plane.
Correct.
The ones I'm shooting now, the Schwackers, they have little bleeder blades that give you a 1-inch cutting diameter on impact.
Okay.
They can plane, but it's not 3 and it's not 4 blades sticking out. It's only 2. So you can control that planing a little more if you orient all your arrows the exact same way, tune all your arrows, knock tune, get everything flexed right. You can get all the same consistent flights. At longer distances, I shoot a micro diameter arrow as well to get less wind drag, faster, shoot out there.
Is that a 4mm?
Oh, gold tip airstrikes. I'm not sure what they are.
Yeah, it's probably my guess would be a 4.
Yeah, they're not the micro diameter like the gold tip. I can't think what they are.
Because I think my full metal jackets are 5s. I think that's pretty standard.
0.204
inside.
Yeah,
inside diameter. So yeah.
So like I shot full metal jackets one time, 1 year, and I'll never shoot them again. Because
why is that?
I don't like the aluminum casings on the outside of them because the aluminum has memory, the carbon fiber doesn't.
Yeah.
So if you're shooting and you're practicing and you end up dinging them, it gets little dings in them, and then you can't get them out, and then that air to me, I'm not going to use it.
Gotcha. So
I could probably cure that by not shooting at the same dot all the time and just start shooting different dots.
That's what I do.
But I like groups. I like when I can see them all in an inch circle.
Yeah.
So Dalton, why don't you like mechanicals?
Well, I've watched.
Because you're a big broadhead guy.
Yeah.
Like solid.
Yeah. I'm very set in my ways about fixed blade versus mechanical. The reason why is I have seen so many fixed blade broadheads work so well, and with the right practice and tuning, they do 100% work.
No doubt.
And I have seen a lot of mechanicals in a lot of illustrations. And again, no personal experience.
Right.
This is just what I've grown up knowing about mechanicals, and it's just kind of ingrained in you. I'm not opposed to mechanical broadheads necessarily. Just like I'm not 100% against shooting a soft lead bullet out of your rifle that's good for long range hunting.
Right.
They're designed for two very different things, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we've talked about, you can kill a moose with an ELDX.
Yeah.
It might not be my first choice, but is it going to kill it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Exactly.
Sure, it's going to kill it.
Yeah.
But the mechanical blade broadheads, number one, I like cut on contact. So that as soon as the broadhead makes contact with the animal, it's cutting. It's not wasting any of that kinetic energy trying to poke through that hide, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of videos out there of guys shooting even caribou with chisel point broadheads or spire point or whatever you want to call them, little needle nose broadheads where you have a tip and then, you know, an eighth of an inch back is where the blade starts. And if they hit any bone at all, then it'll curl that tip over and it dumps all the energy into that. And they don't get any penetration. You know, it'll stick you in a couple inches, and then the caribou runs off over the hill, and the arrow's dangling out of it.
Yeah.
You're never going to find that thing.
Wow.
Now, again, a lot of that is shot placement. If you place the arrow properly, then that shouldn't happen. It should go through a rib just fine.
Yep.
But not as well as a fixed blade will, because I mean, the black bear I shot this last year.
Yeah. I think you broke both on, didn't you?
I hit a rib. It was hard quartering shot, and I would not recommend that shot to anybody who isn't 100% confident in where they're going.
If you're okay with it, can I put the that video up on the Instagram?
Sure.
We'll throw that video on the Instagram.
We can do that.
That are curious.
Yeah. There's definitely a little bit of fist pumping after that,
Yeah,
too.
that's a good video.
That black bear was coming in there, and I feel like we have to talk about this because of where we're at in this conversation with ethics. This black bear had come in there. He was king of the bait. He knew it. He was big, lunky black bear. And he came in there and sat and just kind of stared around and was looking, and I could tell he thought something was off. You can kind of read their body language after seeing so many of them. And so I obviously, you know, my bow is up, release is on the loop, my hands are ready. James had the camera up in his hands, and he's filming over my shoulder. We had stands in adjacent trees right next to one another.
So, real quick, I couldn't even see the bear.
Oh, that's right.
So the way our stands were set up is he was towards the bait, and the stands were kind of, there was one towards the bait and one away from the bait. So the way the bear came in, I couldn't even see it. So I was literally watching it through the screen of my phone as I'm recording it, like just holding my arm over his head, trying to, you know.
Nice.
And this bear just kind of stood up from sitting next to the bait. He never actually went to the bait, you know, that was 4 steps away.
Yeah.
He just stood up, kind of looked around, didn't show any interest, turned around to walk right back down the hill. And it's thick, and I wasn't going to get another opportunity for a shot unless he came back around. And I've had bears do that before, and I never see him again.
Right.
Yeah.
So I thought, this is not one that I'm going to let get away. So as soon as he stood up, I drew, and he kind of stopped and looked. And I held for a decent amount of time. I don't remember what it was.
It was like 5 minutes.
No, it wasn't 5 minutes.
That video is like 9 minutes long, bro.
Well, it might have been like
you let down at one point and then you drew back again.
Did I really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it was.
I forgot because the adrenaline just kind of fogs your memory. And you just remember the shot, and sometimes not even that. But I just remember I was at full draw for a while, and he stood up and he had looked at me again, and then he turned. You know, he was like looking over his shoulder, like, I'm done. And he was taking a step, and then he turned this way to where I could see a little bit of the broadside.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, back of the ribs, a third of the way down the body from the spine, and I shot him right through the top of the kidney there.
Let her eat.
And that arrow went all the way up and out the front. And
yes, sir.
Gone. And he just exploded. And I knew, and I use pink Sharpie on all my arrow fletchings just because I like watching pink disappear into a hide.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just great. And everybody has made fun of me for it, but I don't care.
Hey.
The animals don't care either. But there's that satisfaction of watching that pink fletch just gone, buried into it. And I thought, well, that's number one, I just got great penetration there.
Yeah.
So I know that broadhead and a 32-inch arrow. Mm-hmm. If I even get it up to the fletchings, the broadhead is up in the lungs.
Yeah. Right.
So anyway, But it went all the way through it. I mean, clean, gone. And I never did find that arrow. It skipped off in the Never Land, and I was upset about that.
We looked for a while.
So I looked for a long
cheap
time.
Yeah.
Especially those FMJs. And the broadheads aren't cheap now either. Anyway, though, I have always subscribed to the cut-on contact because you're going to lose energy with a non-cut-on contact, in my opinion. So that as soon as your arrow makes contact, you're cutting. No. And it's a stronger point, so that if you do, and on that bear, I hit the rib on the entrance, and I hit bone on the exit, and I just stuck my finger in the exit hole on the front of the chest, and I could feel that there was bone shattered and broken right there. So I hit in and out. Yeah. And I did that on my second last black bear with a bow that I shot perfectly broadside, and that one, I've got pictures, man. I shot that one at 35 yards on the ground. We were dead level with one another. And that one I had to let down on again, too, actually. That was a long event. Mm-hmm. And I shot that one, and same thing. Entrance, hit a rib. Exit, hit a rib. And I was on kind of a hill in an old burn. That's all I can say. At this bait site. And I couldn't find the arrow. And the bear stumbled off and died. And not much of a moan, but just like a death gurgle. Yep. And I'm looking for my arrow, and Hunter was with me there, and we're looking for this stupid arrow, and I walk down to the edge of the burn where the black spruce starts again, and the arrow is stuck into a tree. Wow. Like 40 yards past where I shot that black bear, and I'd hit, bone in, bone out, and it still just sailed over the hill and into the tree. Oh, yeah. And I took a picture of it. I'll show you too. But that's been my experience as to why, and every dangerous game hunter ever. If you ever watch a bow hunting video of like Cape Buffalo or coastal brown bear, they're shooting two combinations. There are two common denominators. A lot of them are single bevel broadheads, and a lot of them are, all of them are cut-on contact style broadheads. Now, usually, you'll see some 70 pounds, 80 pounds, some guys 90 pounds, sometimes even over 90. And we'll talk about draw weight in a second. But if that's what you'd use for dangerous game to get great penetration and ultra tough, matter, whether it's shoulder bone or, whatever happens, then why wouldn't I shoot that on a moose or a black bear or an interior grizzly bear? That's just been my approach to it. But I'm curious, have you ever had an expandable broadhead fail?
I have not. So I grew up the same way. My dad never I got him to go to not fixed blade, mechanicals one season. Yeah. And he did not like them. He shot at a doe one year, and he swears up and down it did not open. I don't know. He
just pencil hole through it.
It may have. That was early in the in the game of mechanicals. Mechanicals came a long way.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
My question to you is, do you sight your bow in with your broadheads?
So the Montex that I shot, the traditional vented Montex, I had to re-zero my bow to shoot broadheads out of it for my field points. They planed 2 inches left. Yeah. And then that was at 20. And then as I got farther, they'd plane more and more and more. Yep. But this last year when I was down at Screaming Eagle, and Andrew had got in the M3s, which is the revised version of that broadhead. It's a solid cut. There's no vents in it. So you would think it would plane more. And I've shot those, and those shoot same point of impact as my field points. And I've launched those out to 85, 90 yards in the front yard, and they shoot exact same point of impact as field points.
So then this is the reason I switched to Swackers.
Okay.
So Swackers, I can lock my blades in. And they put a set screw in them.
No kidding.
I only shoot my broadheads. I never put a field point on my arrow.
Huh. Really?
So when I get my arrow, I build it with a broadhead. I paper tune it with a broadhead. So my whole setup is tuned for that arrow. And I can take each individual arrow. I number all my arrows.
Yeah.
So your bow build, in my opinion, begins with your arrow. That's your projectile coming out. I spend more time building an arrow.
Right.
Make sure my arrow is good than I do my bow usually.
Right. Yep. That's the right way to do it. Yeah.
With my arrow, I'll take it and I'll I don't know what you want to call it, but I'll shoot the bow without fletching to see which way the arrow is going to spin.
Bear shaft.
Well, it's not bear shaft tuning. Bear shaft tuning is different. So this one's, I'm clocking. That's what it's called. Clocking the arrow.
Oh, okay.
So when the bow shoots, it's going to throw an arrow, right spin, left spin.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I think it's depending on the twist of your strings, kind of how it's going to throw an arrow. But I will fletch my arrows to the way the arrow is naturally coming out of the bow, whether it's to the right or to the left.
Right or left helical.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So, because it doesn't make sense if you got a bow that naturally shoots to the right and you put a left helical,
now you're
some point down there, it's going to start spinning the other way.
Counterintuitive.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of has that knuckleball effect when it comes out.
Yeah.
The second thing I'll do a bear shaft only at coming out of the bow, because a bear shaft arrow can tend to start just wobbling with no stability behind it anyways.
Yeah.
I'll bear shaft and then all, mind you, with the broadhead on. Because the schwackers, I think they're about 2 inches long. So the more
I'm going to look those up as you're talking, just so I have a visual of them.
The more broadhead you stick on the end of that arrow, you're lengthening your arrow, which in turn makes you have a weaker arrow. You're putting more on it. Shorten the arrow up, it gets stronger.
Which if you shot Full Metal Jackets,
you could.
Right,
but
right. Just let it, the listener.
I mean, it still does the same thing, though. A longer arrow is still weaker than a short arrow.
It is, but with that aluminum casing, you have a much stronger arrow.
No doubt
for that situation. My dad shot aluminums for a long time before he switched to carbons, and he's had far more carbons break far quicker than the aluminums.
Yeah. Now, if they're breaking on the animal, I could care less.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
They break with a story behind them. Yeah.
But he's got arrows he shot 5-6 animals with before the arrow broke.
I will say that is a sound that will forever be in my head is when shooting like old school aluminum arrows, XX75, and you stick it in a deer and you hear that ding, 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 ding running through the woods. That will forever be stuck in my head, the arrow running off stuck in a deer.
I shot my first, if not my second bear with those aluminum arrows.
Yeah. The color phase.
I've got an arrow that my dad shot multiple bears with, and I shot bears with, which was cool.
Yeah, there's a few other mechanical companies now that have I think Sever also has where you can lock in your lock in the blades.
And Sever has like a little tiny 2-blade broadhead on the front of it, don't they?
They have little wings that they'll shoot the blades out. Yep. It's not the broadhead. I think that's the wings that will.
Well, you're talking about a cut-on contact tip, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they may have.
There is a company, and it seemed like it was Sever.
I'm not sure who it is.
And it had like this little micro 2-blade chisel on the end of it.
So I know Rage makes them like that.
And there's so many different companies out there now. And because I'm not in that side of the bow hunting world, I don't keep up with what mechanicals are doing nowadays.
So have you ever forgot to loosen your set screws?
No.
I was going to ask you about that.
I've heard people talk about that or not take them out.
Just bullet hole through it.
So I make sure when I take them out, I put the yellow band on there so I know, okay, that one's good. And I still, whether I'm going hunting, I'll check them all, make sure all the screws are out. That would not be
You have to be OCD about it.
I can imagine.
But that's why I shoot those particular ones, the schwackers, because I can shoot them the whole season, and I know each arrow at 120 yards is going to go in that 2-inch circle.
Okay, so then let me pitch you this idea then. Let's test your mental fortitude about expanding broadheads.
Oh man, now you're asking a lot.
Okay. Caribou hunt up on the Hall Road.
Yep.
What broadhead are you going to take?
Schwacker.
Okay. If I say, Brad, I've got an opening next spring, I can get you on a coastal brown bear. Guaranteed 10-foot bear, shot's going to be 35 yards. I'm not going to back you up unless you shoot it in the guts or in the foot with a rifle. What broadhead are you going to shoot?
Schwacker. 100%.
Same arrow setup.
The only thing I would probably add is I'd probably add a little weight to the front, maybe. Or maybe, because I think my arrows now I'm shooting are like 423. I'd probably make it close to 450, 460.
Yeah.
Man.
And he's pretty solid.
I would have no.
So your mental fortitude is set.
Yep. So I mean, this setup, I understand, works for me.
Yeah.
Right.
So I've got my son bow hunting now.
Yeah.
We're shooting a bow.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put a mechanical broadhead on his bow because he doesn't have the weight and the kinetic energy behind it to open that thing and push it to an animal.
Yeah.
Me shooting 80 pounds, I have the strength and the oomph behind that arrow to do damage.
Yeah. No, I think if you're shooting a solid, a lot of times you're shooting a solid for like bear defense. You're shooting a solid a lot of times because you have a low velocity bullet and your big bore low velocity.
Yeah.
If you shot an expanding, it's not moving fast enough to expand like it needs to.
You're going to get very anemic penetration.
And it seems like there's a very similar correlation with bow hunting. I don't think I've shot an animal over 25 yards with a bow.
Yeah.
Damn.
And maybe
Yeah.
30. I shot a moose with the bow, and that may have been 30.
Yeah.
And I've never had one not go all the way through.
Now, don't get me wrong. I prefer to have them 30 and under.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like
I don't want to miss an opportunity when they're at 100.
for the closer ranges, I really like I really like the cut on contact.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this: have you ever had like a shot placement mishap where you did hit some major bone, and if so, how did these react to?
That's a good question.
To hitting
How
like,
durable are they?
Bone?
Yeah.
So, for instance, the black bear I shot this past spring, snapped my broadhead right off in the ferrule, snapped it because he ran into a tree with it.
Midway length.
So, like where your insert where the broadhead screws into the insert, it broke it off up inside the insert.
Okay.
Inside the shank.
Okay.
But he ran to a tree when he left, and that's what caught the tree.
So you didn't get a complete pass through on that then?
It was hanging out by the fletchings.
Okay.
It was on the other side.
So just about.
Really?
Just about, yeah. Okay.
Close enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I've ever had. I don't ever recall ever really shooting anything in the shoulder. I did put one through the hips of an animal one time, and that went straight through him, though.
Yeah.
Never even.
So then here's what I'm going to say then.
That was on accident, by the way.
Here's what I'm finding that we're coming around to with this whole expandable broadhead discussion. Okay. We just talked about in the last episode that you haven't heard yet. This will come out.
I think this coming Monday.
Yeah.
It's
the episode that we
Saturday
just recorded
today.
a couple days ago. This one will come out the week after that one. But the episode 18, we talked about more commonly found calibers for hunting in Alaska.
Yep.
We discussed 708, 270, 06, 300 Win Mag, 7 Mag, my baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 300 Short Mag even. And our conclusion was that with patience and shot placement and being close enough to take full advantage of every ounce of velocity and energy that cartridge will give you, since you don't have a 338 or a 375, it will work.
Yeah.
That's where I'm coming to with expandable broadheads. If you have the confidence to know that you can get close enough for your abilities,
right,
and you do not rush the shot and take an extreme quartering shot and risk hitting bone, because do you think that if you hit a full-on moose shoulder bone dead center that arrow would go through all the way?
That's a lot of bone.
Yeah,
that is a lot of bone.
And that's a lot to ask of any broadhead for that matter.
I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of. I've never.
Those single bevels seem to do it the best.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean, I would imagine anything that has a solid construction like those.
Yeah.
So like the iron wheels. That's the big rage in like single bevel fixed blade broadheads.
I can't justify the price, man.
My soul.
No way.
But it stands to reason that a broadhead of like that would withstand a punishment more than say the Schwacker.
Right.
Have you ever hit ribs with that?
Yeah. Cut right through them.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem.
Does it bend that chisel tip over?
I've never had one bend.
Really?
There's the only time I've ever had issues when I snapped the one off in the tree this past year.
So you've always been able to reuse them?
Yep.
Well, the hardness must have come a a way since
and
I'll
just swap the blades on them, put brand new blades in.
Right.
Okay.
I never reused the blades on them. I never sharpened them. I just swap them out and keep going.
That's a lot cheaper than replacing a whole broadhead, I'm
but
sure.
it sounds to me like as long as you're patient and you wait for the right shot opportunity, you're not going to rush anything.
Right.
And you put it in the ribs, because that was kind of a trick question with the brown bear hunt. Because a lot of people think that you need a 90-pound bow with a 900 grain arrow and a single bevel broadhead to kill a brown bear. A brown bear, like I said earlier, is just proportionately bigger than an interior bear is. A grizzly bear, that is. They don't. Yes, they're heavily boned, but they're not that heavily boned.
Right.
Moose are heavy, if not heavier boned than a brown bear is, as far as the shoulder and hips go.
Here's another reason I like the Schwacker. It's so like you have like a rage has a rear deploying.
Yeah.
So your blades on a rage come out before they get into the animal.
Yeah.
A Schwacker is purposely designed with the bleeder blades in the back So you have penetration going in first.
Interesting.
The blades don't open up until they're inside. So you have fresh, sharp blades.
So they're not cutting it through the hide then?
No, they're poked through first, and then they open up.
Interesting.
And you have fresh blades going
That probably
through.
does save you on that kinetic energy,
That
though.
does save you a lot, I'm sure, because you're not trying to push a 2.5-inch cut through a moose hide.
They poke through. You have this little half-inch bleeder blade on each side.
Yeah.
Once the whole broadhead's in, the bleeder blades catch, opens them up, and then you have fresh blades going all through your animal.
So on that note then, just speaking about brown bears, if you were to shoot a brown bear in the ribs with your bow setup at an adequate yardage, it would 100% kill that bear.
Through it.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. 100% faith.
That's fascinating.
And if we ever get the chance, I'd love to take you. I think that would be fun.
You let me know when.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll talk because and my guide buddy Remington and I have talked about that for years, about doing just a couple weeks of just bow hunting and just trying to get a couple bears with bows. And I've killed a number of bears in bow range with rifles that it would be very easily done with a bow.
As much as I want to go doing with my 45-70 to prove to you how good a 45-70 is, I would rather shoot one with my bow first.
Yeah. Oh, who wouldn't?
I don't know. There's some people that just don't care, but personally,
I think that's really interesting, and that jumps a lot on what we were talking about earlier with bow hunters' ethics and practice. Because a lot of people, okay, would you agree that you don't think expandables? I mean, you already mentioned that your son is getting into it, and you're not going to give him expandables yet. Would you recommend that a beginning bow hunter uses expandables?
So that there's a lot that comes into that. So beginning bow hunter, is it a scrawny dude doing it? Is it female? Is it a big burly guy?
Let's just say 50 to 60 pounds, average arrow weight, 500 grains, give or take 50.
I'd say yeah. I'd say no reason not to. I mean,
but just stay away from shoulder and hip. But that goes for any archery shot.
That's any. If you're trying, you're not going to break a bear down.
No.
With a bow, like people talk about with rifles.
Right.
You're not going to do that. You're not aiming for that shoulder to park him.
Which we don't condone, by the way.
Right? Yeah. You lose a lot of meat that way.
But so I've been bow hunting now for 25 years. Mm-hmm. So I've put a lot of arrows through animals.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not saying that I am the end all be all but I just know what I am capable of.
Yeah.
And I've gone through the trial and error, and I practice. When it's warm out, I'm outside shooting. If it's not, I'm in my garage.
Go ahead.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
So with that experience and that trial and error, you talk a lot about the schwackers now.
Yeah.
I mean, how long, you may have mentioned it, I'm spacing it now. How long have you been shooting the schwackers?
About 3 years now.
About 3 years. Yeah. And did you have any failures with other mechanicals or any horror stories, anything that made you move to that kind of guided your decision to go that direction, like from other mechanicals or other methods?
I shot rages for a long time, and I am a big fan of those.
Mm-hmm.
But I went to the schwacker solely for I can lock the blades down and I can shoot that broadhead.
Okay.
Practice all of a sudden. I can tune my broadhead to my bow. And
that is a great feature.
That's why.
That's really, really good.
The practicality there is amazing. Yeah. But as far as performance on game and everything like that,
I've never had anything. No. Yeah. All the other broadheads I shot slick tricks for a while, the fixed blades, muzzies. I've never personally had any issues with any broadhead.
Okay.
Cool.
Performance.
Yeah. Good.
That's just, I come to like not necessarily the tunability, but just I can tune everything to my broadhead on a.
Right. You're not changing anything out. There's nothing up to, up to debate.
So while we're on broadheads, I know I've shot, when I shot those aluminum arrows, I was shooting the old Muzzy Phantoms, great big fixed blade broadhead.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I switched to carbon, I was shooting what my dad was shooting at the time, and I don't know, he still maybe, but I was shooting slick tricks, which are not a cut on contact.
He still is, yeah.
And I don't think the Muzzy Phantoms are either, but the Muzzy Phantoms.
Oh yeah.
Are they? I thought they had a chisel tip, but anyway, the slick tricks, it's a small broadhead.
They are.
Yeah.
And
very small.
I shot, I don't know, I may have only shot one bear with that, maybe two, I don't remember now, but.
Well, you shot that big sow by yourself with slicks.
Well, that was with a slick, yep.
And then you shot that big chocolate boar, the 6.5.
Right, and the chocolate boar was very, what was the
that
shot.
was just an ideal situation.
That was an ideal. Yeah. That was if you could.
I
make
showed
a shot,
Brad that video last week.
Is a sweet video.
Someday we're gonna
post that. But we gotta save that.
Yeah,
one.
we gotta wait.
That's probably one of the best videos on a bear shot I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is.
That's
It really
So
is.
what I was gonna say was, so that's the only. So like with that shot, that doesn't really count because it was right at the top of the lungs, and it just took the airbags out to where he couldn't use them.
Yep.
And but with the Muzzy Phantoms, I mean, I killed that small color phase that I shot that you were there for, Dalton.
Mm-hmm. That first one.
He piled up behind the stand, and it was just a simple double lung shot. I mean, he piled up behind the bait pile.
Yeah.
Right, and my dad shot those for years, and bears just piled up. Whereas with okay, that's right, they are. I couldn't remember. It's been a long time since I shot those, but with the slick tricks, like so, the last bear that I shot with a bow was with the slick trick, was that boar, and just a beautiful double lung, but he went 50 yards, and he didn't bleed hardly at all compared to the big. So there's a huge difference.
Wait, which one? The black one?
Yeah,
that was a sow, wasn't it?
That's right. That was a sow. You're right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, that one, like, it didn't bleed hardly at all. I mean, I found that bear based on just walking the direction it went and making.
Well, she took off.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen that footage. She was.
But my dad's had
gone.
the same experience with his with the slick tricks.
Well, that one that he tracked for forever.
Like 100 yards?
No, the one that they ended up having to come out and get backup to go find.
No, well, there was one he shot it was a great shot, but it went like 100 yards.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there's a huge difference in fixed blades too. Yeah. So it's not just it's not all about fixed versus mechanical.
Now, I will say, whether it's been up here hunting big game or North Carolina hunting whitetail, I have trailed and tracked more deer further with fixed blades than I ever have with a mechanical.
Really? Okay.
What kind of width are you cutting? Is that 2-blade, 3-blade that you're shooting?
For the mechanicals, 2-blade.
2-blade. Okay.
2-blade.
Well, how wide of a
2 inch?
2.5 and 2.
2.5. So I shoot the
okay.
Can't remember which one. 261. Levi Morgan. It's got sweatback blades a little bit, and those do very well.
I haven't shot anything with the Montex yet, but that's what I'm shooting now.
Yeah.
Is Levi Morgan the Bowtech guy?
No, he's a Matthews shooter now. He shot Elite. He was originally a Matthews, went to Elite for a couple years, and then went back to Matthews.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Anyway, that was just a few thoughts I had on the broadheads.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, you've talked about your comfortable range being, out there quite a ways. I would say probably quite a ways past what most archers are capable of doing.
Yeah.
What kind of gauge do you use to kind of, is it just if you can hit it, then, or do you kind of like, is there a way, like, do you know, like,
it's all in the moment.
It's all in the moment.
Yeah. So everything, when you're starting to shoot that far, just because I can shoot that far and I know I could kill something that far doesn't mean I'm going to. Yep. If it's windy, if it's this last trip I went up on the Hall Road, it was howling.
Oh yeah.
So I rolled my distance back. There was a couple days, 40 yards. I wanted 40 yards or under because it was blowing 50, 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure where my arrow would have went at 40 yards. Yeah. That's why I didn't shoot one that trip because it was just so daggone windy.
Yeah.
It's all a lot of caribou. But between that, terrain features, what's in front of them, brush. I'm not going to shoot that far if they're in the brush. It's actually my personal experience. It seems to be easier to shoot an animal. That 40 to 60 yards seems to be.
Yeah.
There's that little. They seem to know it's coming. They can hear that. They can hear the bow sound off. Yeah. If you've ever stood down range and they hear that arrow, you can hear an arrow.
You're right.
Yeah.
So, and you see it with deer all the time. They jump the string and all that.
Yep.
So for me, 40 to 60 seems to be where that has a more chance of happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like 40 and under, the arrow's there before they know what's happening.
Right.
60 and beyond, they don't hear it fast enough and the arrow's already there. But that 40 to 60 seems to be like that. They know something's up.
Right.
The bow goes off.
And what did you do to bring yourself from, like, I'm assuming as a kid you probably shot the 40 or closer, and as you progressed, like how did you, like, what steps did you take with your practice and your setup and things like that to get yourself ethical out to those ranges first?
So when I was growing up, 30 yards was a long shot.
Right. Yeah.
Like if you shot 30 yards, that might as well have been 100.
Yep.
Yeah.
And moving. So once I got up here and first trip on the Hall Road,
Yeah,
30 yards.
Yeah,
that's hard to come by.
Yeah.
So started shooting around guys that were reaching out to 60, 70 yards. So I started doing it, and then I realized my setups weren't adequate enough to shoot that far. And then you go to my setup now, I've got a front bar, side bar, counterbalance my bow. I got everything set right. Shooting around people that were better than me made me to where I can shoot today.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's true no matter what. And even with the rifle, if you can go to the range with somebody who knows more than you do, I mean, obviously you're going to pick up good habits and everything like that.
Absolutely.
But
so let's talk about 3 things, and then we'll kind of wrap up bow hunting: patience, form, and time. Because patience has a lot to do with not taking, like we said, a hard quartering on shot.
Yeah.
On a moose or even a caribou for that matter, or a black bear, for instance, and where the animal is not in a good position for you to shoot it with a bow.
Yep.
And recognizing that as a bow hunter. Patience is a large part, I would imagine. I would be shocked if you said it wasn't, of your all of your bow kills.
Absolutely.
From teenage years up until now.
Absolutely.
Going from North Carolina to Alaska.
Yep.
Patience is a common denominator.
Yeah,
bow hunting is a game of patience.
I'll give you an example. So I've got one of my buddies, Dalton. Different Dalton.
Yeah.
I got him into bow hunting, and I took him up on the haul road this past year and trying to get him a caribou. He actually ended up shooting his first bow kill this year.
Nice.
And we were stalking up on these bulls, and we would get to 100 to 80, somewhere in that range. And he would want to go move, like, just wait. Just chill. Let's just wait here. Watch what they're doing. You're not going to run these animals down.
No.
Like, let them move around. They're feeding. They might go that way 100 yards, and they'll be right back here in our laps. That's how we ended up killing his bull. Was just, we saw him coming a mile off the road. I watched him for an hour or so. Hey, they're heading that direction. Let's go get in front of them and wait. And then you just wait. And then as they start filing through, don't panic. Just let them cross. Let them get out there in front of you. Let them keep coming. Let them keep coming. And then eventually, one will present its shot. Wait till he stops walking, because I want to make sure he was 100% good on what he was doing.
Yeah.
And he ended up sticking a nice one.
Yeah.
Patience is, whether you're a beginning bow hunter or you've been bow hunting for 60 years.
Right.
Patience is definitely key.
Yeah. And then let's talk about form. Now, the archery world has seen a progression in kind of a new direction, I think, for a lot of bow hunters anyway. With the shot mechanics that we're seeing nowadays. All of us here know who Tyler Friel is. He's got Tundra Talk podcast, and he's also based out of here in Fairbanks. And he shoots a lot. And he's killed a pile of bears, black and grizzly, over bear baits with his bow. And he's killed a couple of caribou with his recurve up north as well.
Oh, yeah.
And then this last year he bought he picked up a compound, and he got a Hoyt.
I think so.
Hoyt. I want to say it the name starts with a V. I don't
Ventum.
know. Ventum. That's
Ventum
right.
or Ventum Pro.
Yeah. And so he picked up a Hoyt bow, and he in jest he always poked fun at other guys on his podcast for shooting cheater bows or the easy button is what he calls it.
Hey.
And I grew up shooting trad bow. Like I said, we moved back up to Alaska when I was a teenager, and I shot my first black bear with a recurve, killed it, dead as a doornail. It worked great.
Oh, yeah.
But I realized real fast that I didn't have the patience and the time to practice as much as I needed to be good enough with a trad bow without sights,
right,
to be able to be effective as a bow hunter in spot and stalk world.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to take that much time to maybe get one arrow a season released.
Right.
Because for all intents and purposes, I could shoot soccer balls at 40 or 50 yards, and that was about as good as I'd gotten. I wasn't shooting, tennis ball groups at 60 yards with a recurve. I just wasn't.
Yeah.
At my best, I was shooting 2-inch groups at 35 or 40. Wow. And I thought that was great.
Yeah.
And I when I graduated high school, I bought my dream recurve bow that I'd been looking at in traditional bow hunter magazines since I was a little kid. I went out and bought a Black Widow recurve, and
nice.
it is a Cadillac of recurve bows. I love it.
Fine craftsmanship.
And this last year, I picked it up again. And I hadn't shot it in like a year, and I felt bad. I thought, I need to shoot a recurve again. And I switched shooting methods. I went to 3 under, and I switched my anchor point a little bit, and I got one of those clickers because I had awful target panic with a recurve.
Oh, man.
Bad. And I'm not like that with anything else.
Yeah.
But it got to the point where I would just get upset, and I just quit shooting. I'm done.
Yep.
And I got one of those clickers, and I had Andrew set it up at the shop there at Screaming Eagle, and it, instantaneously reformed my shot.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I was within a week.
Mm-hmm.
I was out there shooting with my wife, with her with her compound and me with my recurve at 40, 50 yards.
Oh, nice.
Shooting my block target.
Sweet.
It completely reformed my recurve abilities. Now, I'm not going to go out hunting a whole lot with it, I don't think.
Yeah.
But it's there's something about shooting a trad bow.
Yeah.
It's just fun. Yeah. There's so much enjoyment out of it. But when I was, 3 or 4 years ago, I bought my father-in-law's old Hoyt bow. It was a 2012 Vector Turbo Hoyt. And that's what I killed my first black bear with a compound with. And then 6 months later, I said, here, I'll give it back to you. I'm going to go out and buy a brand new bow. I like this compound thing.
Nice.
But a lot of the mechanics and form transferred.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
The follow through, the good form, knowing when to stop when you're tired. So hit on a little bit of the form aspects of it, and guys that are trad that are thinking about switching to the easy button.
Yeah.
It's not that easy.
No.
And it's that there's so much fine detail in a compound that it's not as easy as everybody in the trad bow world likes to poke at it and make it out to be.
It can be easy if all you're wanting to shoot is a pipe lead.
Sure.
If you're 30 yards in a pizza box, as far as accuracy wise, then it can be easy.
Yeah. But that shouldn't be
that should not be
that shouldn't be your goal,
right?
With a compound,
which unfortunately is a lot of people's goal.
I don't understand that.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
You owe it to yourself and the animal to put that arrow where it needs to go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But so I focused 1 full year to a recurve.
Okay,
I'll never do it again. I ended up killing a whitetail with it. I didn't grow up around recurves. I seen people doing it.
Yeah.
Like it looked fun. It looked easy. So I went and I tried 20 yards was my max. I was not going past 20.
And that's a very commonly heard thing is 20 yards or less with a trad bow. I'm just not comfortable past that.
But I developed terrible habits.
Yeah.
That stuck with me until 2 years ago.
For instance, what?
So getting back, I was doing the whole instinctive type shooting. Pull back, let it go.
Yeah. Snap shooting.
Yep. Nobody ever taught me how to shoot it.
Yeah.
It was killing my elbow. Like for some reason, when I would come to full draw, my bow arm, elbow, after I'd shoot for 10 or 15 minutes would kill me.
Were you push, pull, draw?
Sure. I don't know. No, I think I would hold the bow.
Full extension.
I would full extend and then come back.
Bring it back.
And as soon as my middle finger touched the corner of my mouth, that string was gone.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And that, wanting to release that arrow, I never had target panic before. I switched back over to my compound.
Yeah.
It took every ounce of my body to not, as soon as that would get back, to not punch that trigger.
Really?
And it stuck with me until 2 years ago.
Wow.
I found this great invention that's been around for forever, a hinge release.
Yeah.
And now I shoot a hinge.
Yeah.
That I can.
Do you shoot a hinge hunting?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I was actually watched it this morning, the video when I shot my moose. When I come back to full draw, you can't see the moose because I had my phone sitting in my bino harness.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I come back, you can hear the click.
Yeah.
And then 3 seconds passes and the arrow's gone.
Which brand do you have?
I've got the Ultra View hinge too.
I got the same one. Yeah. That is a phenomenal hinge release.
It has changed everything for me.
For competition shooting, because in the summertime I shoot at that 3D league off Hot Springs Road. Last summer I took first place in that.
Nice. Was I there?
By this many points. Second place was, anyway. But I shot that Ultra View and I like switching releases between my I've got what's that red one that Andrew likes, Carter Wise Choice.
Yeah, and the Wise Choice.
Yeah. It's got a nice big stainless barrel. on it that really fits my thumb. I got long fingers and long thumbs, and that just fits my hand real well, ergonomically great fit. And so when I want to be in full control, if you will, but I get into full draw, I settle in, let everything calm down, and then I just gradually apply pressure, and then it's set. I have it set ultra light.
Yeah.
And then when it goes off, it's like shooting a hinge for me because I've practiced so much with that thumb button.
Yeah.
And so when it goes off, it looks like I'm shooting a hinge, and you get the whole, it breaks and you get back tension. It's perfect.
Yeah. I've shot thumb buttons for a while.
But I like that ultra view though. That's a great
thumb buttons. I thought, I was shooting a wrist strap.
Yeah.
I shot that for years, wrap around, and I was fine. I was fine.
Yeah.
Until I shot a recurve, and then I could not do it no more.
Really?
And so I went to and started shooting.
Have you tried it in the last 6 months to a year?
What's that?
Trigger?
Yeah. I actually carry one as my backup. And
still same issue.
Nope, I shoot it fine.
Okay.
I shoot it fine. I had to break that mental block though.
Yeah.
That's the same thing that I had to do shooting my recurve again last year when I had to go put a clicker on it.
Yeah, when you said the clicker, that click kind of it slows me down because when I first started shooting the ultra view, it has that click. I would flinch. Boy, I'd flinch bad. Almost tear my shoulders out of socket trying to hold the bow back.
There was a guy that shoots at that range that he went to one of those hinges. It was a hybrid hinge though. It was forget who made it, but it's got a trigger, but it's got like a 3-finger twist, and it's got a wrist strap. It's kind of a weird release. But same thing, when it would click, he would just
man, it's hard to start.
A couple of times he sent them way over the animal. Well, that one's gone,
But no, since I switched over to that hinge, it has
interesting.
It has reset my archery completely. Like that's why now I have no problem 124 yards going down, just dropping arrows.
Well, it takes a lot of the human error out of it because you're not going to punch it, and if you've disciplined yourself that the click isn't that's not when it's going to go off.
No.
So if you flinch, then you're done.
Yeah. Yep. It's a game changer. If anybody listening is struggling with target panic, give it a try. Will it fix it? Probably not. It worked for me.
But it is an avenue to go.
I will never go back to shooting.
It has done wonders for my shot with a compound as well. That really helped me zero in on my form. That's a great tool.
I grew up shooting compound as soon as I could pull a bow back. My dad I had the little kid's bow, and then I was shooting like a Parker youth model. And with that one, I had a release that was it was an old trigger release, finger trigger release that had the 2 balls would release. And if I no, I don't know if I even hardly shot with that one. Actually, I think I remember that one for some reason, but it was just the old. I don't even know what brand it was, but it just was the two. It was
caliper.
Cat would open up, and I got to where I could shoot with that one, but I had a hard time, like I said, with target panic and pulling the bow over and tensioning up. And what I discovered was I practiced with it so much that I was able to get over it, even shooting that. And then last time I was shooting, I'm shooting I've always kind of shot old bows. It's just what I've had, and hey, if they shoot good, they still right, And I'm shooting that one that you shot with my dad's.
That 2012 Hoyt.
And I haven't killed anything with that one yet. I haven't had a lot of time to bow hunt the last several years. I'm gonna be doing a lot more of that this spring.
Nice.
But I was shooting that with my old trigger release, and was when you don't shoot a bow for a couple of years, you lose.
It's a perishable skill. Absolutely.
I couldn't believe because growing up I did it so much just for fun. It was I could for me then, and it was a big deal. Like for Dalton as teenagers, he'd like, hey, let's go, bring your bow, let's go do some shooting, and he's setting up targets at 20, 30 yards, and I'm like, give me something hard, right? Like, to me, 40, 50, 60 shooting a pie plate was like, okay, this is something. This is a contest now, right? And he's setting an apple up on the dirt bank at 20 yards. I'm like, well, of course I can hit that, But anyway, but that was a compound. But then I didn't shoot for several years, or very, very little. And like I practiced a lot this last fall, And but and like I wasn't even trying to hit a pie plate. I wasn't happy. I started at 20 yards because I had to set my sight pins and everything back up.
Yeah.
But I have a newer what is that one? Spot hog release?
I gave him the Spot Hog trigger release that Cam Haynes uses.
Oh, the wise guy.
That purple one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that thing
because when I started shooting a compound, that was my first release.
Yeah.
I wanted to try the whole trigger thing, and I was good with it, but I just found myself punching it. When my mind said, we're good, let's shoot, I would just grab it.
Yep.
And I had no follow through. There was no back tension. And I just realized that my shot was just dead. As soon as I pulled the trigger, it was just dead.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, I gotta do something different. So I bought the Ultra View, and then the first time I ever shot it, I rotated through and click, and then it was gone, and my shoulders came, my elbow went way up, and my hand came out. I went,
that's what it's supposed to feel like.
That's what back tension is.
That's what surprise
and
shot
so
execution is.
He wanted to still shoot triggers, so I just gave him that wise guy. I just,
I didn't want one more thing to learn while I was trying to sight in a bow.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's where, and at this point.
And if you watch Cam Haynes shoot with that release, he's just laying his finger on it real light. Yep. And then when he touches it, it just falls out of his hand.
Yep.
He's not grabbing it and just holding on to it. He just knows it. Just the same way that I shoot that barrel thumb button.
Yep.
You just gradually just touch. It goes off, and you're not expecting it, and it just surprises you. That's what's so important with
caliper style release. That thing, you could not anticipate the shot.
Yeah. The trigger pull was so heavy on
it was so heavy, and it was so old, and it would it was
had a lot of take up.
Yeah.
It was like shooting a high point pistol.
So it was okay. I know when the shot's coming. I need to almost let go of the shot at that point. I need to let my muscles relax when the shot goes off.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like trying to not anticipate. It was I know when the shot's coming. I have to, and I was shooting, and for what a lot of people is a longer range, I was shooting 60 yards, 3-4 inch groups, no problem for a couple of years like that. And I never shot like that. I never shot an animal that far, but
nice.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've pretty much covered bow hunting.
Oh,
yeah. I think so. For now.
Between Mo and Brad and I being bow hunters on and off, and you being the biggest bow hunter here, and you're probably going to get back into it.
You getting into bow hunting?
I'm getting into it,
you need to.
Actually, I have a couple of, so I have a ridiculously long draw length.
I'll say,
I am, for those that haven't seen pictures of me, I'm 6'6", and so my draw length is 32 3/4 inches.
Oh, you got Tim Gillingham draw length.
So I have about 5 different bows I can choose from that accommodate that.
You ought to Google pictures of Tim Gillingham, and he's got a release loop on the back of his string about that far.
Yeah, that was one thing. I was talking to a buddy of mine. He had suggested doing that, but I just don't know if I want to go that route. But and one benefit is full length arrows, so I mean, that's,
well, you're going to need to extend your D loop if you want to shoot full length arrows because they're going to be too short.
Probably, but yeah, no, I've been looking. There's a PSE. I think it's the Beast EXT is one I've been looking at. Matthews, actually, when you were saying that, Matthews makes one. The Atlas.
Yep.
The Atlas is a good one. Yep. So I've been going back and forth between those. I need to go down to Screaming Eagle and actually talk to those boys and handle them and everything. But yeah, I'm planning on taking a bear this spring with the bow. And,
there we go.
Getting into it. One of my big goals is moose.
There you
moose
go.
With a bow. So yeah, it's something I've danced around with. I used to shoot trad when I was a kid. Never really hunted with it, but just plink it in the backyard, something like that, and really enjoyed it. I was in never went anywhere, but I was in a little competitive shooting team.
Oh, nice.
A little youth team. So, but and really fun. Really enjoyed shooting. But
there's something special about it.
Yeah, there really is, and so. And then I kind of got that PSE Stinger X there, and I got to a point where I was thinking about hunting, but I had been given a lot of misinformation about bow hunting because I didn't I didn't know a whole lot of people that did, and I mean even, and I'll point this out, because I saw the same misinformation on a TV show.
Right.
I don't know if you've seen the show Alone.
I have.
And it's a wonderful show. I love watching it. some of the people annoy me, but that's not a discussion for here.
Most of the folks annoy me. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say. But
especially when they're shooting bows and all of them are just snap shooting and launching arrows into the trees.
Now some of them are pretty cool because I mean I've seen people snap shoot like tiny little squirrels out of trees and stuff like that, and maybe it's luck, maybe it's not, but like
that's not a consistent skill to have.
But you know, one guy he shot a moose on one of those one of the episodes, and so. You know, they're out there, and that's all you're allowed to bring is a trad bow with broadheads and everything. And on the screen, you know, they typically give you all the information. You know, this mouse provides him 2 grams of protein, you know, or whatever. And but on the screen, so it brought up the information. It was like a lung shot moose can take up to 3 hours to die, or something like that.
I saw that.
And you know, and that puts such a negative, you know, kind of mindset towards bow hunting and everything. And you know, and then they're not the only ones that believe that, clearly, because, you know, I had heard several things, you know, well, you know, if you want to track an animal for hours, you know, and so in my younger years, I just never got into it. And then I got into rifles and long range shooting and reloading and just kind of, you know, really dove into that world. And, just now I'm finally coming back to a point where I'm going to be getting into that more, especially talking to these two yahoos all the time. So, but you know, and it's I'm excited for it. I love hearing these stories. You know, you guys talking about it. I'm just sitting here,
you know,
kind of dancing in my chair, just waiting to get out there.
My dad has killed 2 bull moose with his recurve.
Yeah,
they don't take 3 hours.
No,
they take about. 5-10 minutes.
You let the air out of them.
Well, and heck, that video of your bear, I mean, that thing was dead within
30 seconds.
30 seconds,
If you nicked with the bottom blade of the broadhead, the top of the lung, then that animal will die. But it's going to take a long time.
That's going to take a long time. But that's the same thing if you shoot it high lung and you only get one lung with a 6.5 Creedmoor.
Right.
Yeah.
If you
same
shoot
type
it in the
of
guts,
thing.
You know,
right?
and
true.
And to be honest, I mean, that's honestly a large reason, you know, we kind of designed this platform, you know, is because, you know, there is a lot of, you know, I'm obsessed with watching, you know, hunting videos and hunting entertainment. Exactly. You know, so, but a lot of
the guys that are making them.
Yeah, right. But a lot of them you don't get, like, you know, like you'll see that they shot something with a bow or with a certain
very
gun,
good
but
educational,
you don't get, you don't know the inner details of it. And so it's hard for, you know, when people are listening to podcasts when it's just stories and no details, you know, to really take away anything from it and learn. And you know, I kind of come from the perspective of somebody who grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Kansas, and, you know, we deer hunted. But it wasn't like a huge ordeal. You know, I got into hunting as an adult. Yeah. Out of a desire to provide my family with, you know, better meat and just the adventure and to get out in the woods. Sure. I'm a huge introvert, so I mean, there's less people out there, and so you know, it's you know, and you know, and it really became a passion, you know, in my adult years, and you know, when you don't grow up in that world, you don't grow up, you know, following your dad through the woods and things like that. You know, you have to find outside sources of information. Absolutely. And there's a lot of bad information out there too.
There is. Stay away from the what are them things called? The Tundra Talks. Not the Tundra Talks. The Archery Talk. Archery Talk.
Archery Talk.
Archery Talk. What is it called? Forums.
Forums.
Stay away from the forums.
Yeah, the online.
Sorry, Tyler Phil. Not Tundra Talk. Archery Talk.
Not Tundra Talk.
No. But yeah, no. And that's where a lot of it.
He's going to hate us now. He's never going to come on our show.
Well, and you know, the thing with those forums is anybody can start an account. You have no idea what the background of the person you're getting this information from. You know, I mean, we're sitting here, you know, you guys have told tons of stories about your experiences and different things you've tried out and whatnot. You have no idea what that one paragraph response to a question is. You know, it could be some guy sitting in New York City in his apartment up, you know, 20 stories high.
You know, some hunter who works in New York City is going to get really mad at us right now.
I think,
well, hey, he'll be all right.
Go live in the woods. Yeah. But yeah, so I really appreciate your insight and everything. And we but talking about hunting stories. Yeah, I guess you had a pretty interesting adventure sheep hunting.
Oh man. Which one?
Let's start with them all. Heck.
You drew a coveted sheep tag last year, did you not?
I did.
Okay. So talk about that for a minute.
The Delta.
Yeah.
Delta management tag.
You had the late tag?
The early.
Okay, so the limited access.
Yeah.
So non-motorized.
Walk in on that one.
Yeah.
Just makes my legs tired thinking about it.
So how many days did you end up spending out in the field?
I had a brief intermission between going out.
Rest and recharge.
10 days, maybe 8 to 10 days, something like that.
Yeah. By yourself, or you go
by
with a
myself? I'll never go sheep hunting again by myself. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
it is boring. Holy cow! Especially when it's blowing 60, 70 miles an hour, and you're in a tent, and you're just licking the flap of your tent coming over the top of your head.
Yeah, you better really make sure you like yourself in that instance.
Yeah.
Spend a lot of time. So,
as someone who has sheep hunted by himself, I can attest. It's not the most eventful thing. That's
especially when you don't see sheep.
Yeah.
I seen one ram the whole time. Saw one lamb, one ewe.
Yeah,
man.
And the ram I did see, I called him 7/8.
He was just couldn't make him full.
I made him full curl a few times. But then he would turn his head and was like, I don't think so.
Then you blinked and looked again.
Yeah.
So no, that one wasn't too bad. Other than the weather, I never realized the difference between Brooks Range mountains and Alaska Range mountains.
Yes.
Two totally different types of mountains. Nobody told me mountains were steep and stinking hard to walk up. Holy cow.
Yeah, the Alaska Range is gnarly.
Good gracious. So I walked in. First day I walked in, went to jump across the creek and rock fell out from under me and I face first into the creek.
Sorry to laugh, but we've all been there.
Yeah, we've all done.
Yeah. I have a Kafaru pack, and I have the gun bear that hooks onto the thing that broke, and my rifle as soon as I hit the ground. So that was then you're worried with my scope on. And so I ended up shooting it. It was still on, but man, it hit hard.
Oh boy!
And then so walked up in there and kept getting cliffed out everywhere I went. Just cliffed out. Even though people told me not to go in that drainage, I went in that drainage anyways. Because in my mind, they don't want me to go there because there's sheep there.
Right. Yeah.
So I go into that drainage.
Which could definitely be the case.
So I went there. There were no sheep there.
What were you carrying as far as your setup for your rifle goes?
What do I have? A Remington. It's a 300 short mag.
Okay.
Nice. I like that round.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't get into all the technicalities of it's a 700 action. I know that.
Yeah, there you go.
Stainless.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's all you need to know.
What brand scope?
It's a Nikon Monarch.
Okay.
The 4 to 12 by.
Those have been discontinued. You know that?
No.
Nikon is no longer making rifle scopes.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I love this rifle scope. It's got the BDC reticles in it.
Got the little circles on the vertical.
They work.
line.
They work pretty good.
Are those the ones that they have like specific ones for specific?
No, this one you go onto that Nikon spot on app and it put in your caliber and what brand bullet and weight and it kind of gives you a guesstimation.
Yeah, I know that some of those older Nikon ones, they would come out and they'd be like, this is designed for 5.56 or for 308 or for
And I think they have them for 308 and 5.56.
Yeah. The NATO cartridges.
Yeah. But anyway, so back to your story then.
But yeah, that one that sheep hunt wasn't too not too eventful. It was.
Did you get much wind in there?
Oh my soul!
How did
the good Lord made so much wind?
Yeah.
So I ended up going back up into a drainage and beautiful going in. Man, this is nice. It was sunny out. I was walking ridge lines and looking for sheep and not seeing sheep, and walked to the next ridge line, not see sheep. So, went to camp that night. Went and got my water, brought it up there, and ate a meal and went to bed. Like, it was beautiful out.
Yeah.
And I woke up 1, 2 in the morning and just, holy cow!
It sounded like a war zone in your tent.
70-mile-an-hour winds, and where did this come from?
Yeah.
And it was nasty, windy, rainy. It did that for 2 days.
Yeah.
Luckily, my tent held up. It didn't explode on me.
I said, did you set up all your wind spike? The night
I
before?
had a guy out, every possible guy out point, even some extras.
Yeah, I was going to say, I had a similar experience this last fall guiding on a sheep hunt, and I was out at 2:00 in the morning adding guy lines. I was. Yeah, you know what? There's a little loop right there. It's getting the guy line. It doesn't hurt anything. And I was carrying rocks from 50 yards away, big old lunky rocks, and putting them on my spikes. And I wasn't going to blow off that mountain, but I
just about imploded, though. Just about broke it.
If that'd be miserable. If my tent
what kind of tent did you have?
Oh, what is it? I think it's a Slumberjack. The Slumberjack something.
Is that a Big Agnes tent?
No, it's the brand is Slumberjack.
Slumberjack is a brand.
Yeah, you haven't heard of that?
No.
Oh. The guy that I thought knew everything.
Yeah. Well,
it's a Slumberjack. It's a 4-season tent. It's a super nice tent. It's a 2-person.
Okay. Yeah.
Weighs about 5 pounds, 5.5.
That's
like
not
that.
bad for a
Slumberjacks
tent.
are pretty nice.
That's not bad at all, actually.
Slumberjack.
That thing has been. It's been a bombshell tent.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up. Oh yeah. Yeah. Sure enough.
Well,
interesting.
It's not very often Dalton hears a brand he's never heard of before.
So you said you saw one ram in there. How long was it before you spotted him? Is that like
day 3 or 4?
Day 3 or 4. Yeah.
That was. I didn't walk near as far as I wanted. I didn't realize how hard walking on glaciers could be.
Oh yeah, dude. I've heard some horror stories, especially about that one in particular.
No,
people
like,
getting
in the world.
Yeah,
I didn't where I originally had been planning and wanting to go. It had been raining all that summer, and I couldn't cross the rivers I wanted to get across, and it was just So
this was last season.
Yeah,
I know 2 guys.
It was a wet year.
I know 2 guys that got turned around by that.
If I would have been
by that same river,
if I would have had somebody with me, which is probably good, I didn't have somebody because I probably would have tried to cross it, and I probably would have ended up down double junk or something
back at the highway.
Yeah. Right. So it's probably a good reason I was alone because I got to it like, hey,
were you going to try to pack raft or wait or what?
I was going to strip down to my birthday suit and go across.
Yeah. Were you further up near the head of the river?
Yeah.
It gets pretty narrow.
I'm well familiar with that location.
Yeah.
There was no crossing it last year. Not for me.
Yeah.
But that was my second. I've only sheep hunted twice. I went again the first time back in 2012 or 13.
Okay.
In the Brooks Range, we did a walk-in. And
when you say we, you had a friend?
Yeah, I had a friend, a guy I worked with. He had never hunted before.
Ah.
Yeah, don't take guys that never hunted before.
No, that's a bad idea.
But he was one of those A-type personalities that nothing scared him. You couldn't intimidate the guy until he walked up his first mountain and then he started crying. What the heck happened?
Wow.
So we turned our 12-day, and I had a whole route plan. We were planning on doing 70 miles. Had the route plan. I was feeling good.
Yeah.
The hiking in Brooks Range is so much easier.
Oh yeah. And you can cruise up there.
Yeah, we were in 7 or 8 miles at this point. Like the first day, we just got up in there and went straight. We were seeing rams. We were going to kill a sheep. I knew it.
Yep.
That first big saddle we crossed over to get over that like 5-mile corridor to get over. It had a big saddle to drop down in, and he got up there and just broke down in tears on top of the mountain. What is your problem? Is there nothing? He just trying to wipe the tears out of his eyes, and then we make it down. And we get our tent and stuff set up, and we start camping. We're in our tent at night. Starts raining, and it rained for a day and a half. I mean, not just drizzle, it socked us in pretty good. And the mistake I had was letting him use the sat phone.
Yep.
And as soon as he called his wife and talked to his wife, it was no getting him. I got him to go out one day, and we hiked up this ridge line and looked around, and the next day he was like, "Dude, I'm done." And this was like day 3. Like, what in the world?
And that is a big thing with the mental fortitude to just stick it out and just to, just.
So we drove all the way up there, walked all the way out there, packed up, walked all the way back in.
Oh, man.
Knowing what I know now, so I'll meet you at the truck in 10 days. And
yeah, right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude, I would have said, all right, give me all your food. You get 1 day of food.
Yeah.
See you, pal.
Yeah.
Man, that's
and
rough.
here you can have the sat phone too if you want it. Take it. Less weight for me to carry.
Man, yeah. So I was pretty perturbed about that one.
That is arguably. No, go ahead.
Oh, no.
Go ahead.
So that was your first sheep hunting experience?
That was my first one.
Okay, man. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. He was in shape to do it. Like he was definitely more in shape than I was.
Yeah.
But just he didn't have mental.
And sometimes it surprises you because sometimes the guys that are in the best shape to do things, I mean, not related to hunting, but when we went through the gas chamber at basic training, and it's funny to see who breaks down in the gas chamber because it's usually the big burly muscle guy that has the big tattoos and everything, and they're so tough, and just puffed out chests all the time, and they're just crawling on the ground, it's like,
throwing out,
let me out, it's like, but it's that mental, you gotta have the mental ability to handle it when it's.
I'll be fine. I'm gonna survive. They're not gonna try to kill me,
Well, and when it's cold, when it's wet, when it's nasty, when you've been, just especially like I think Dalton, you were telling me, weren't you in your tent for like 3 days or something like that?
On my first sheep hunt, it wasn't my first sheep hunt, but it was the first time that I'd actually been able to go out and like make a real effort at sheep hunting in 2021. I went out on a solo sheep hunt, and I killed a ram on opening day, but I was out there multiple days before opening day.
Yeah.
And I expected competition in this particular area, and there ended up not being any.
Oh, nice.
And a lot of it was because, like you mentioned earlier in the show, you pick areas that are really hard to get into.
Yeah.
Yep. Pick somewhere, and then have a creative access tool that you can hide, if you will, so that nobody sees how you crossed a river, maybe.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to elaborate there, but I was in there, and it blew and it rained for 2 or 3 days consecutive. And I'd get out of the tent, look around because the rain let up a little bit, stick your head out the window out the rain fly. And it was just like a solid mist all across the entire valley and then back down out again. And no fog. I'm sorry, no visibility, fog down to the deck, and couldn't see anything. So I was stuck in the tent. And but you mentioned Chuck Adams earlier.
Yeah.
In his book, and I still haven't read it yet, but I know a specific part of it talks about, and you might recognize this, that someone asked him how he was able to achieve such great success in bow hunting over the years. And his response was, I just got up every day and went and did what I know how to do, no matter what.
Yeah.
And that applies to everything in hunting. You just get up, okay, it's raining, so what? If you can see, you're hunting.
He still comes up here every year on Kodiak and hunts blacktail by himself.
He killed the new Pope and Young record blacktail buck
with his bow.
With his bow just a year ago.
Yeah, did.
He's still getting after it.
Yep.
But it just getting up and doing what you know how to do.
Absolutely.
You just get out there, put yourself in a place first, give yourself a chance to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely.
But sheep hunting is a mental game. It's I'm not a big burly strong guy. I'm tall and lanky, and I'm not the fastest hiker with 80 pounds of gear on my back going in for a 2-week sheep hunt. And I went in heavy, and I came out really heavy because I hadn't eaten the next 8 days worth of food in my pack.
Right. Yeah.
And there were times that I thought, man, I could just dig a hole and bury all this junk up here.
Just feed the bears.
Bury all my mountain house. And I thought, no, I'm not doing that. There's like $300 worth of food in here.
Absolutely,
so I carried it all the way back out. And I regretted it. But that was a heavy pack out, and it took a while, and it was just pouring rain the whole time. And I sweated myself, just soaked on the inside, and it was pelting rain on the outside. And I'd stop every, half mile or so and sit down. And it was everything I could do to then lean forward and stumble up onto my hands and knees, and then stumble up on my feet with that pack on. It was everything I could do. But you just keep at it one step at a time.
What played into that guy breaking down on me too is he had poor gear choice. He went and bought a pair of just cheap Under Armour hunting hiking boots, and he had a cheap pack, and he was getting blisters, and so that just added to his misery.
Right. Being prepared for it helps a lot of ways. But I have noticed too, and this is kind of something that we talk about in guide camp a lot, is in-reaches are a two-edged sword.
Yeah.
Because it's great for us to use them as guides. It's great that we can contact the boss man at any given time and give him a weather update if he's trying to bring in more guys or take somebody out.
Right.
We can give him weather updates. We can give him hunt updates, let him know everything's okay. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
But when the clients have their own in-reach, now all of a sudden they're the weatherman.
Oh.
Yeah.
And, well, hey, it's going to rain tomorrow. You think we'll be out tomorrow? Yep.
Yeah.
And this storm looks pretty big, man. I'm aware.
Yeah.
You know, and it is, they become, well, they think they become a part of the decision-making process.
Yeah, there's an old saying, don't guide the guide.
Yeah.
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 Let your guide just be the guide. You know, there's too many chiefs.
Yeah.
You know? And but like you mentioned, your buddy called back to home.
Yeah.
That's another big thing. Is
Yeah.
people get distracted
Mhm.
on hunts, and I wouldn't ever think that's possible.
Yeah,
because
no.
I don't get distracted.
Nope.
Yeah.
When I'm in there, man, I'm in kill mode.
Absolutely.
I'm focused on everything that I'm doing in there and solving problems that I've got in there, whether I had a bootlace break or whatever's going on. I'm not, you know, I'll check in with my wife on a regular basis.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yep.
You know, what I do is I will usually send a morning text,
Yeah.
you know, and then I'll keep it with me all day long.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I never pull it out.
Yeah.
Like it stays, you know, either attached to my shoulder or attached to my belt loop or wherever it is. It's attached to me, but until the evening time when I'm back at camp, you know, I'm not out there to text. You know, I'm not out there to.
But they are nice to have that. Or,
right. If you need it, you know,
for emergency situations, they are irreplaceable and they're awesome. But
you can get locked in that.
But I've had
loop.
people. You know, you're sitting out there glassing for rams, and they're out there with their inReach, Bluetooth connected to their phone, and they're texting their son or their daughter or their wife or their husband or their buddy, and their buddies. How's the hunt going? Tell them you'll call them when you get back to Fairbanks. You know, don't
the hunt is on. That's how it's going. You should
hunting.
be here.
You're ruining it. Is how it's going.
Yeah, you know, I got a friend who's a guide, and I used to work with him, not as a guide, but in construction. Anyway, he said he was guiding a guy, I think on a moose hunt, and he said the guy got a text on his inReach or whatever from his girlfriend.
Yeah,
that she wanted to break up with him or whatever. You know, while he's in the middle of this hunt.
Bye.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
We'll talk about it after I get. Yeah.
Right. No. The guide said, he goes, man, that's what his attitude was. He goes, but the guy totally broke down, was like, totally just lost it. Like, I don't want to be out here anymore. I want to get back and see if I can fix this. And it's like, dude, if she's not willing to wait for you to come back to tell you that, she's not worth.
Yeah,
she's already gone.
Yeah. Anyway,
she's already made up her mind.
Like, you know, the guy had spent, you know, however much money a moose costs with that outfit. You know, $10,000 at least, if not 15.
More than that.
I don't know what I haven't looked
23 to 28.
Is that what a moose is these days? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, from cheap to expensive.
Yeah.
And that's still a pretty good deal.
I didn't know what a moose guide.
She's going to leave you while you're out there. She ain't worth $24,000.
Right.
Sorry, brother, but
But
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, being in touch with folks is great for family and great for real important things, but don't let it be a distraction.
It's a tool, don't abuse it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because like up here last time, I didn't have none of that kind of stuff, so we'd go up on the Haul Road.
And just gone.
We were gone until I got back. And
it
actually, I had the state troopers come look for me one time because I said I'd be back on a day, and I wasn't back because the caribou were there. We were killing caribou.
There you go.
And so my wife, Rachel, she called my work, and then work called state troopers. And then by the time I get to Coldfoot, state troopers are there with, hey, are you Brad Ivey? He's like, yep. Okay, your wife's looking for you. Like, what is happening? Like, oh, man.
I guess
you want some backstrap?
Yeah.
Right on.
I think we've pretty well covered everything. I guess the last question that we were going to ask is future hunting goals.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you already mentioned brown bear with a bow.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah.
But
anything I can get after, really. I'm kind of unfortunately going to miss this whole hunting season due to military requirements, but I'll be coming back strong next spring.
Yeah.
Spring of 24.
Well, you get back. Well, yeah.
Well, I might be able to hit some late season caribou up on the Haul Road. Hopefully,
there's that late season moose hunt you could hit too. Yeah. I think that's a bow only in the Management area.
In November.
So,
if it's as warm next November as it was this last November,
absolutely.
Man,
be out there.
Yeah. But
you could always go down south and go try to get some blacktails.
Now, actually, I was talking to Mariah's dad about that. We were talking about going down to try to find some blacktail.
That's right. He mentioned that to me.
Yeah.
That may be in the books, but
bow hunting those deer would be fun.
Yeah.
That'd
be a blast.
As long as you go in the rut. If you go when it's snowing,
I wouldn't
recommend it.
Location you go might vary a lot with a bow hunt too.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is you might get your opportunity to brown bear too. So
who
knows?
Yep, you never know.
Well, one thing I wanted to just ask in kind of closing is, what advice would you give somebody like in your situation, maybe a military individual or just a person coming up here from a different part of the country, or
just trying to break into Alaska hunting,
just getting into Alaska hunting, getting into the, like you said, having the experience of that first trip here, really helped you your second round. But what advice would you give them as far as to help them get out in these woods?
Now find podcasts like this. When I came up here the first time, there wasn't this kind of information and knowledge floating around. So you're left to going on to Archery Talk or any other type of forum trying to find stuff. Yeah. Platforms now that we have, YouTube, you can find information.
Yeah.
Wouldn't say take everything as gospel on that stuff, but you can, you can
unless it's this podcast.
Unless it's this one.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But like a lot of that stuff, you can get ideas, or for me, I watch that stuff and I can kind of tell what area. It's like, okay, that's what that terrain's like, and you can pick out certain features of things.
Yeah.
But get out and just put boot leather on the ground and get out and do some looking.
There's no supplement for experience.
No.
Well, and it's better to get out and fail than not get out at all.
Yeah.
So.
And if you find somebody that's fortunate enough to take you along and get in good with somebody and show you the ropes, and that's huge too.
Having a good teacher goes a long ways. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, don't listen to especially if you're in the military coming up, don't listen to everybody at your shop. Because likely they're not doing things the right way or the legal way. So, my gracious, I hear some scary stuff like, what? You're doing where? What? How? Like, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Look at this moose I shot with a crossbow in the management area.
Yeah, right. Well, it's archery, right? Yeah.
I had a guy at a job site years ago that said that to me. I saw a moose rack. It was mid-September, and archery season was open in the management area, and I said, nice bull, man. It was fresh. Fresh moose laying there in game bags on the garage floor. He said, yeah, man, caught it with a crossbow. He wasn't disabled or nothing.
I'm going to walk the other way now.
And oh, cool. That was the extent of it. It was nothing else. But, anyway.
Oh, man.
Well, I have one more thing to say.
Yeah.
While you're on your Alaska hunt.
Absolutely.
And you have a rifle. Or if you don't have a rifle and you're just a bow hunter and you end up sitting and calling somewhere, you need to get yourself a glassing pad from Stealthy Hunter.
Yeah.
From their website, and buy it from Ryan Lampers, and get yourself a rifle cover. And then also, when you're packing out your monstrous moose or caribou or sheep or whatever your heart has desired to chase in Alaska, you're going to have some sore joints.
Yeah.
So get some of their nutritional supplements for that. They have CBD gummy options, and turmeric and bone broth and protein powders. And man, today I was sipping on an orange juice and protein powder mix all morning this morning from
orange
Ryan.
Juice, huh?
Real nice.
Really
Really
sounds
nice.
like it.
So anyway, run on over to Stealthy Hunter's website, and at checkout, use the discount code at the Northern Hunter, and you will get a discount code on your order.
Clarification on that. You keep saying the discount code is at the Northern Hunter.
I'm sorry.
The Northern Hunter.
It is just the Northern Hunter.
All lowercase, no spaces.
The Northern Hunter for discount code, and you'll get a little bit of a reprieve on that price and save your hard-earned money, and it'll also help us support the show, which we would greatly appreciate.
Appreciate.
And we have another sponsorship coming up real soon that I'll not go into right now. We'll give you the details coming up soon, but we are excited to be expanding.
Excited. It's a very cool company, and one we're excited to tell you guys about. So,
well, thanks for listening.
All right, Mo, you got any final thoughts of your own?
I don't think so.
No.
No.
All righty.
Well, Brad, thanks for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure to have you on.
No, it was a pleasure. It was super fun sitting around talking hunting.
We'll have to do it again sometime.
Hey, anytime, let me know.
Yeah, we really appreciate having your perspective and your insight and knowledge and everything. And we just, thank you very much for bringing that. So
absolutely. Enjoyed it.
All right. Well, guys, if you like the show, make sure you give us a rating on whatever platform you're listening to. Subscribe to the show, and however that looks on your platform, and share it with your friends. Information is key. And when you're trying to get out there in the woods, learning everything you can is the best route to go. So send this to as many people as you can. Hit up our socials. If you have any questions, we try to answer those as often as we can. So if you search at the Northern Hunter on either Facebook or Instagram, you'll find us. Soon to be on the YouTubes. But yeah, and aside from that, again, thank you, Brad, and thank you for your service to our country, man.
My pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, we'll catch you next week.
Have a good one.